charade. Uh, I'll see you later.
Okay, see.
It's a giant charade. Somebody messaged excuse me. Somebody messaged me the other day and told me that my how Sumail wins mid video influences like that's the #1 influence video on how people play in the 5K bracket. I was like, holy shit, dog. That's some high praise, you know? Holy shit.
Yeah.
We are live.
Yep, I think we're good now.
Video's unavailable. The internet can totally see you now, but it's an unlisted stream, so nobody can see shit. Right?
And we're public.
No. We're what?
We're public.
Is that true?
Now it's unlisted.
Rest in pepperonis.
Dude, what is happening?
Where's the chat at? Oh, there we are. Never close porn so fast. I like it. I like me some porn. 13 watching. Get it together, boys. Yeah, we can
Oh, okay.
It's fine. If a couple of boys got in here, you know. Some non-Patreon boys. But
all right.
We gotta give replay priority to our Patreon boys, though. You know what's a good idea? You know what we should do, actually?
Okay,
oh my god, we're so stupid. Dude, why don't we make it unlisted or listed, public, and then just get replays from the Patreon guys?
We don't have any way to mark them as patrons.
We have the Discord.
So we have to look in Discord instead of chat for replays?
Yeah. That way, everybody gets to watch the replay analysis. But if you want your replay analysis for the Discord, boys.
All right. Well, we'll do that next time. I don't want to deal with it right now.
Okay.
Are we good?
You tell me, dog.
I think we're good. Here's the link. This should work.
Oh, there I am. You moved me in there. Oh my god, I'm biting my nails.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Nervous piece of garbage.
Oh. What music am I hearing? Oh, what are you doing? What did I just hear? Jesus, disgusting.
Hear me slurping my water?
I can hear you slurping at something.
Yeah.
Didn't sound like water from my experience. I'm just joking. What was that perseverance building into on your last Sven game? I hope that was a Lotus Orb.
My last Sven game?
Yeah.
Sven game. Oh,
that's
one where we lost?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Lotus Orb.
Oh, that's good. Against Shaman, Tree, Huskar. Yeah, this looks good.
Yeah, this game sucked. From the drafting screen, this Lich and this Viper were just screaming at each other.
That's never a good start.
No, it was pretty awful.
You know,
the Lich
is a good.
The Lich literally just there were 4 wards in stock for the first 15 minutes of the game because the Lich was just standing there typing and yelling at the Viper for the entire time.
You know, a good thing that I've been doing lately is just like, one sec. I can hear your like Dota music.
Yeah. Should I turn it down?
Maybe a little. That's fucking nice music though. What music is that from?
The Fat Rat music pack.
Oh my god, that is so good.
Yeah, I actually don't even listen to music anymore because I just listen to that because it's actually
so good.
It's definitely the best thing that I've bought with money in Dota for sure.
Good god. But a good tip that I've been doing recently is like if there's people fighting in my game, I just like disassociate from the game and not care about it. Like I'll just kind of fuck around and just try to have fun. Like if I consider that the game is just already lost, I'll just be like, all right, I'm just gonna play this as if it's like Super Smash Bros or something, and just have a fucking fun time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I had an IO in my lane, so we just like completely destroyed our lane, and then when we went to actually play with our team at like 15-20 minutes in the game, we were just getting destroyed because actually. It actually went pretty well because I was like super farmed and we had an IO keeping me alive, but then we just eventually threw the game because everybody was tilted.
it's just if there's two people that are fighting each other in your game, chances are like whether or not you emotionally invest in it, that's not going to determine whether you win the game.
Yeah.
In fact, like probably if you do emotionally invest in it, you're going to be getting upset and probably lose that game, and then lose the next one because you're upset about it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean, I was totally not emotionally invested in that game. I was just trying to
that's
figure
good.
out
That's great. Yeah.
figure out how to win, and we probably could have won. Honestly, it's one of those games where sometimes you feel like you just have to actually just go carry.
Yeah.
As an offlaner, and if I had gone more damage, we probably would have won. But
who cares though? It's like it would be so stressful. You'd probably lose other games if you fucking do that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, all you gotta do is push your win rate above like 50%. I feel like those are the games that you're destined to lose, or it's just gonna be a random chance if you win. And if it's a random chance, then why the fuck even? Why even like put your all into it when it's just gonna hurt you, dude? I really feel like we should just make this public and just do the Alcluminati stuff right now because we don't do this frequently. Why don't we just try it? It's a shit show anyway. we always fuck this up and take a really long time and fuck up with the stream and the chat. Why don't we just do it?
All right, it's going public.
Okay, let's do it. So we'll wait a little bit. And then we can talk a little bit about, you know, if you guys are Patreon subscribers, you're not in the Alcluminati thing on Discord, just hit us up on Discord and we'll sort it out. Because we're going to be doing this for a couple hours, at least, depending on what we do have a video that we need to edit, but, you know, this is of course important. Okay. We can pull some shit from this.
So I'm going to go ahead and start out with this replay, which was given to me by Raven. He's playing Undying. And
ooh, Raven.
This was given to me by one of our brand new patrons who said he was not going to be awake during this. And especially requested that we look at this game. So let's just go ahead and hop into it, since he's not even here anyway to ask questions, and we can just kind of look at stuff.
Okay, so Raven is our Undying, and what's the 2 thing? Is that the second one above Herald? Is that right above Herald?
Yeah, this is Guardian.
Guardian, okay.
So it's about like
2.5k?
No, it's like 1.2, 1.3k.
Okay, sure.
Actually, at 5 stars, probably like 1.7, 1.8, something.
Sure. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, and it looks like they won the game, but I think he is just kind of wondering like what more he could have done.
Sure.
I would imagine, because it looks like their anti-mage is pretty underfarmed as expected level.
Yeah, maybe like a mid anti-mage. We'll see. Damn, dude, you're streaming, you're downloading, my webcam is going over to your computer, and you're sharing screen with me, and you're recording, and you're downloading the replay. Like, you are really testing your internet out, my friend.
Let's look at our performance.
How's she doing?
CPU usage 24%.
Oh hell yeah! You probably have a good CPU. What's your GPU?
GPU is a GTX 1080.
1080, man. I have a 1060, and it's like, it's good. It's good, but you know, if there's a tinker in my game, it slows to a goddamn halt.
Yeah, my 1080 is at 30%. My memory is at 50%. Using 15 gigs of memory right now, but
yeah, okay. So let's go to the Undying. Check out what he started with.
Yep.
So starting item wise, mangoes, and these are fine items. I would probably go for. Looks like you purchased a ward. Honestly, if you're going like this sort of Undying, you can even consider. Oh wait, no, he's a core, right? He's a core Undying. Or is it Marana core?
Marana went Crown Tango, so
that's interesting.
I don't know. I'm gonna assume that he's playing offlane Undying. I would say just generally as Undying. I mean, you and I have had this conversation like 5 or 6 times in the last week about Undying and Skyra specifically.
Just killing himself.
I don't think that Undying should ever buy Tangos. I think they're just too inefficient because this hero always has like 1,000 HP in the laning stage, and Tangos are such a small percentage of that.
I agree. I have something to actually add on to that. Like, I want to extend that even further and say, if you're playing a core Undying, I think there are better heroes that you can be playing in that scenario that do relatively the same thing but are better cores. Like, you could be playing a Beastmaster, for example. The thing with this hero is that the best way to play him in the lane is to use your spells, use all of your mana, use all of your HP, and then kill yourself But if you're doing that, then you're spending time running at the tower, and that's going to take time where you're not getting experience in the lane, and cores want to be farming the lane. This is the problem with playing Pudge, Skywrath, or Undying as cores, is essentially their entire gameplay can be done as a support as well. So there's no point in really playing them as a core. So I would say you can actually win more games by playing this hero as a support than as a core, because then you're not having the burden on you of doing that core role, which is staying in the lane, which is pushing the lane, and all of these things that you don't fucking want to be doing as an Undying. You can just do all of the things you want to do as a support, but not have to carry in other ways. So I would say if you are playing a core Undying, or core Skywrath, or core Pudge, it's just better as a support, and you'll win more because of that if you pick it as a support.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that there's some argument to having some of these. Like, let's look at Pudge, Undying, and Sky specific, because I think those are like probably the best examples, because those are heroes that are relatively awful at doing anything other than just kind of like ganking and fighting.
They just want to brawl. That's it. They just want to brawl.
They basically do nothing other than that. And so, generally speaking, if you're playing a core, you have to be able to do other stuff, right? You can't just be a brawler. There's basically no hero that's only a brawler that's a core, except for maybe Bristleback, but even Bristleback can like hit towers and do other stuff.
He can push like he can cut the wave and push towers and like Pudge, Sky, Undying. They cannot do that. They can't apply any pressure.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
They basically have to play around their team, and that's why playing a hero like Undying actually is pretty annoying to play, especially at lower MMRs, because you actually have to 100% rely on your team to end the game. Because I mean, this hero, it can't hit towers. There's zero. Yeah. There's no way that it can actually push towers.
He is playing as a support, but it's still a valid note. This is still something that I've thought about a lot recently, because I personally am an offlaner. I play a lot of Skywrath Mage. I'm enjoying that hero a lot recently. I tried it as a core, and I just realized like there's no point. You're burdening yourself with stuff that hero just doesn't want to do straight up.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. So I think maybe we should go back and just watch a little bit, because we kind of like went on a tangent. I think it's a good tangent.
Yeah. Like
it's an important subject, especially because, you know, I don't know, it's just a good subject, because there's a lot of core supports that people think like they're only played as support because they're bad heroes or something like that. But it's actually just because like they're amazing supports, but they don't do what cores want to do. It's like a lot of people don't get that, and I didn't get it when I was trying to play Skywrath as a core until I played it and realized what the big issue was.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main thing that I just want to say to end this kind of discussion is that like there's a reason that heroes have naturally fallen into specific roles over the course of Dota's like 15-year history. Because if you include Dota 1, a lot of the heroes are essentially kind of in the same role that they were back in Dota 1. You know, they changed a little bit, but for the most part, they've fallen into these roles over the years because they just simply fit best into that role. Likewise, you fit best into the offlane role, I fit best into the support role, Sumail fits best into the mid role. He's kind of fallen into that. I'm sure he played other stuff from time to time. I'm sure you played other stuff from time to time. I definitely have tried other roles. But you just kind of eventually slot into the spot that you are most comfortable in and function best in. So I think there's kind of just this impression that like anything can work in Dota, and while that is kind of true, like sure, you could run an offlane Undying and you could snowball out of control and have like a 15-minute Aghanims and be unkillable, but you could also just be a Beastmaster, and then if you don't snowball out of control in the laning stage, you can still win the game instead of being completely useless.
Yeah, I actually want to piggyback off of that a little bit, just briefly. We'll end it on this note. But Nusham said that when he coaches people, the very first thing that he tries to figure out is the role that they're getting coached in actually the role that they should be playing? Like, if you're a very sacrificial person and you constantly find yourself dying for your like other heroes when you're a carry, you might actually just not be a good carry player, and you're just playing carry because it's what you have done. But maybe you should try switching to another role, and you'll just win because naturally you are inclined to be a better player in that role because it fits your personality better. Exact same thing with heroes. It's just you want to do what you are best designed to do based on, you know, your experience and, I don't know, genetics, whatever. Like, you're just going to be good at a certain thing, and heroes are going to be good at a certain thing naturally, and you want to try to allocate your resources to that role instead of something else. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Final point that I just want to double piggyback on. No, trust me. This is good.
Okay.
I just think that a lot of people, they go into ranked and they figure that they can only gain rank and win games if they're in a core role. And a lot of people are probably meant to be core players, but I don't think that just because your favorite pro player plays anti-mage that you are necessarily going to be a good anti-mage player. I remember for the longest time I wanted to be a good anti-mage player because I just really wanted to be able to, you know, solo carry games 1v5. Like, that was my mentality at the time. But then after playing anti-mage for like 40 games, I just realized that I actually hate fucking playing anti-mage and everything about playing anti-mage. And I was forcing myself to play this hero that just simply did not align with how I thought about the game of Dota and wanted to play.
Yeah, same with me in anti-mage. I have like a 30% win rate with that hero.
I literally have like a 20% win rate with anti-mage.
I have a lot of games with that hero and a dog shit win rate. That is very accurate for me as well.
Yep. Okay. Let's get into the Undying.
Let's watch this. Let's watch the replay.
So, he was brawling at the rune.
Yeah, dives the tower, which is fine on Undying. He's a super aggressive hero. You can do stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't love taking 3 tower shots for no reason, but, you know, little efficiency things.
It's still fine to be very aggressive. This is one of the few heroes that you can be aggressive on. One issue with what you're doing here is just that it's so the PA heads over from lane, and that's a mistake on his part.
It's just free farm there. There's a bunch of CS that nobody's getting.
He could be free farming. So in general, the reason that you're doing what you're doing right now is not actually for the kills. It's so they don't farm the creeps. So if you ever are just brawling with somebody and leaving a creep wave, it's a mistake. It's just that the PA is also making a mistake because, I mean, this is like 1 to 2K rated, so he's just going to want to fight heroes because it's fun and it's the impulsive thing to do. But, you know, if you just sat on the creep wave and they were over there doing random shit and you're doing nothing on the creep wave and they're not farming, you're winning the game. All you need to focus on is the creeps in the laning stage.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest things that people at this bracket really should keep in mind is that in the first in the first 5 to 6, 7, 8 minutes of the game, you really just want to be around experience range because those early levels are super important towards actually advancing you to the point where you can take fights and push towers. Yeah. So this is good because you're in experience range.
This is perfect. Yeah, this is perfect. You're zoning them from the creep wave. What you're about to do here, we saw it previously. This is a mistake.
Yep.
Cutting the wave against a lane that you're destroying is not good because you're just giving them free farm under the tower.
Yep.
If this was a lane that you were going to lose, this would be fine because then you're going to get something out of a lane that you're supposed to lose. But you're actually supposed to prevent them from getting last hits, and you're giving them to them under the tower by pulling this.
Yep.
That's the issue.
Yeah, this is a move if you actually cannot approach the creep wave without getting killed. But right now you're in a lane where they can't approach the creep wave without getting killed. And as a result, they're back here farming completely free from harass. Meanwhile, you're here just tanking a bunch of damage for no reason, and your Mirana's doing nothing. So, wrong time, right idea, I would say.
Yeah, the idea is good. I like that you hit the creeps as I walk up the hill. Like, you executed it all correctly, but it's just, once again, you just got to follow the flow chart of, like, if you're not going to get anything in the lane, then this is a play that you always have available to you in the off lane. But, you're the lane that's supposed to be winning, and the PA is actually farming. I believe there's an axe even jungling, so offlane sniper's free farming as well.
Yeah. This is always some interesting stuff. But I will say that I really like your positioning of just kind of like being a wall between the other team and creeps because they're too scared to come to the creep wave, which is exactly what you want as an Undying. Yeah. I just think that there's kind of a tendency to take things a little bit too far. So we're going to see you're going to chase the PA, you're going to chase the Leshrac, and now you're actually out of experience range, so you're no longer being as effective as you could be because you're zoning them out and you're getting no experience.
I think it's actually fine to be out of experience range if you're doing it for the right reason. Like, if you want to give this Mirana experience, then that's a fine play. But if you've already zoned them and that's not your purpose for going that far, then, you know, you've already done your job and there's no point in like kind of overcommitting, which is kind of what's happening here a little bit. Although I do like the fact that you're zoning them from the creeps.
Yeah.
Like you're zoning them from the tower. Zoning is fine, but just make sure that you're thinking about, why am I actually zoning them? What is the purpose for it? And if you ever get to the point where that purpose is already met, you're already meeting your goals, then that's when it's best to have a taunt button. Set up your hero with the taunt and just moonwalk while they're just losing the lane. That is the best way to not because that makes you feel like you're doing something, but you're because you're
still getting to hit buttons, right? You're still getting to hit buttons, which is the best part.
That is why on Skywrath Mage, on Dying, you will see spam taunting when they're playing this 4 role, because all of the time you've just done your job, and your job is literally to sit there on the creeps and just look scary. And that's when you could spam taunts.
Yep. I actually want to rewind a little bit to this particular moment, because this is kind of more what I was talking about back here. Before the creep cut happened. Okay, not this part. When he comes back to lane, zones them off the wave. This part right here. I think once PA had gone to about here, PA is committed to walking all the way around the tower, and I think you can just come back to the wave at that point. Because I don't think that you need to chase him all the way back to his base. Like, you just need to chase him.
Because if he walks back the other way and you're standing there, you'll still be there. So it's like, it's just like the shortest path. He's gonna have to go the other way or walk through you. And if he walks through you, well, then you don't need to chase him. Yeah. So once you pushed him such that it's just a better option to go the other way, you don't need to keep chasing. Essentially,
it's like efficiency of movement. Basically, you got him to commit a move because you were playing aggressively, and then you don't have to follow through because he's already committed to them.
Just a minor point about Undying, by the way, you went for level 2 Tombstone, and usually what people do is they'll go the W at level 2, just because the Tombstone level 1 is completely awful. It's great to level up, but with the initial decays that you get on people in the lane, a lot of the time you can actually snipe a kill by just leveling up that Soul Rip, which is actually very value at level 1 now. It used to not be way back in the day, but it's a super value point. So you can actually kill people because they'll be really low HP from all your initial decays. So that level 2 point is where a lot of the time Undyings will get kills, but it's because of the Soul Rip.
Yeah, it can do up to 180 damage at level 1, which is like a pretty massive nerf.
Especially
pretty massive nuke, I mean.
Especially when you consider the fact that they're going to have 180 total HP because of your decays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so skill build usually on Undying is 114, right? Or
yeah.
Something like
that. Some people will go dish one additional point in Soul Rip. Maybe some people will max decay. Yep. But the most important thing about this hero is decay first. Yep. Always decay first, and then almost always in 99% of scenarios, Soul Rip second, and then you can basically level up whatever you want, and it's going to be pretty valid because all of the spells kind of scale relatively similarly. But I would say as a support, most people would probably max Tombstone because, well, the Soul Rip and Decay maxed out. It's like you're a support. The Tombstone really is the reason you pick this hero coming into the mid game. Right. So you want to have that maxed out as early as possible.
Yeah, the thing about the Tombstone is that you just have to get it to level
4 by the time you're fighting.
Yeah, to level 4, just because those 7 hits are so important.
Yeah. And it's just so good for team fighting. It's like the way it's like Skywrath, where once the mid game starts happening, no matter what build you've done on that hero, you want to start maxing Silence because now it's all about team fighting and not about laning.
Right. And
it's the same thing. Tombstone is all about team fighting. It's not that great for laning. It's okay, but you want to have it maxed out for that mid game.
Yep. Okay. Let's go ahead and skip kind of into the 20-minute mark.
Sure.
And see kind of how things have progressed a little bit. So net worth wise, we've got Kunkka on top. We got a bounty hunter. I guess it's a carry. No.
Well, let's can we pause for a second? We'll just go through and check everybody's items.
Yep, absolutely.
So at 19 minutes into the game, so let's see. So we have you're going for Blade Mail first. Viper has what items?
Viper has a Dragon
Lance. So he's got damage items which are reasonable. Marana probably has damage items too.
Atos into Ags.
It's still something. Go to Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter has some damage items. Okay, so does Anti-Mage have a Vlad's? No, he doesn't. Okay, so basically at this point in the game, there are some really value items that if you had them, you would be demolishing the enemy team in team fights if they didn't have them, or if you had any sort of advantage, which 4K advantage is a big advantage. If you had a Vlad's right now, there's no way the enemy team will fight you, and that Vlad's can be purchased with all the gold that is in your inventory right now. You could not have the Arcane Boots and just Brown Boots, and you could have a Vlad's, like it's totally worth rushing that item, or at the very least be building into it, because the components in the Bassi and the headdress are super value. I would say that just because you have a Mirana and that's not traditionally a Vlad's building offlaner, that's why you would go Vlad's. A lot of the time you can leave that to your offlane, but even if your offlane is buying Vlad's, you want to build like an Urn, you want to build a Buckler, you want to build these really early game super efficient items, and then if the enemy team doesn't do it, which they probably won't because it's a low rated game and because it's not that fun to build these items, you'll just win every game, and winning is fun because like Buckler is that value, Vlad's is that value, Urn is that valuable. You definitely want these items, not like the blade mails and stuff. Those are like late game items or items for the non-utility heroes to get. Like you as a 4-roll, especially as an Undying, you're basically a utility hero. Offlaners, they're utility heroes. Somebody needs to be building those utility items, and in this game, it's you.
Yep. And another point just to think about, like I completely agree about building the aura items and how important those small little items are to progressing the game as a utility hero. But if we actually think about it, okay, you're an Undying. Most of the time, the other team is either A, going to ignore you in fights because it's a waste of time to kill you, or B, they're going to run away from you, so your blade mail gets very low value. Even at this MMR, Sniper's going to run away from you, Leshrak's going to run away from you, PA is going to completely avoid you. Sure. So, like, the blade mail, while good in theory because you're like, hey, I'm in the middle of fights, blah, 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 like, look at me. Most of the time, they're just going to avoid you. So it's actually like not that good. It's kind of like you would very rarely see a Bristleback go for a blade mail because he already is like just spitting out a bunch of damage and people are trying to avoid him.
Right. And a lot of the time, like on Bristle, for example, you can actually do more damage by staying alive and getting damage reduction from other damage reduction sources like, Vlad's with the lifesteal, the armor it provides, the HP regen, Crimson Guard for obvious reasons. Like all of these items keep you alive longer, which will allow you to do more damage than a blade mail would let you do, essentially. And that's even if the enemy team isn't ignoring you. I would basically say in general, if you're not like an axe, and even if you are an axe, blade mail should not be a first item for you, unless you have like all of the aura items and all of the very efficient items already dealt with. If nobody's building efficient items on your team, like the Vlads and etc., if you build all of them, it's still going to be game winning. Even if you do nothing but build utility items, even if you're any hero in Dota, you could be the worst hero in Dota, and if nobody's building those items and you're going to win. They're that good.
Yep, I agree. So the next thing I want to talk about is just the habit. This is a habit that so many people have, probably especially up through like at least like 4K, is just they respawn and they immediately feel like they need to be out on the battlefield. They don't think about where they need to go. We can actually go back. Let's actually go back right before he respawns. We'll go to player perspective, see what he's actually looking at, because I think this is super important. Okay, so he's checking on his anti-mage. He's looking at his Mirana. He's watching them play. He's not checking any of the other lanes. He doesn't even look top at this creep wave that's coming in. And he just immediately TPs to the mid lane.
The bottom line is this is just an impulse.
Yeah.
It's an impulse. That's it. This is an impulse. Every single time you die, you need to remind yourself, I'm not going to impulsively TP, because I see this happen in Immortal bracket. People make this mistake in Immortal, and it is one of the most game-losing things in Dota, hands down. Because if a fight happens somewhere else, you don't have a TP. Number one, you didn't buy a second TP, so now you just don't have a TP straight up. But if a fight happened, you wouldn't have a TP.
Imagine they were diving your anti-mage. Imagine they were diving your anti-mage on the shrine, and you TP'd here and then walked this way.
Well, they are killing him.
Yeah, like if you still had your TP, you could TP to the shrine and run there. I don't know. It's just like, it's one of the more frustrating things to watch, actually, for me. Just because...
Sorry.
Just TP scrolls are so important, and people just use them randomly all the time.
You can actually, it can be a greedy thing. Like, you can farm as a support if your TP is available. Like, that is one of the things I really want to stress. That it can be a greedy thing for you to not... Oh, that's a nice tombstone. They are totally focused on somebody else. Although I would put it on the high ground if I were you, but...
Yeah, we'll get into this after you finish your point.
Okay. My point is basically, if you have a TP available as a support, you can go to a lane that nobody's in, and you can farm. You can farm as a support. That's amazing. But if you TP to mid, that forces you to have to run to be near your team because you don't have a TP to get near them. So essentially, as a support, as an offlaner, as any role that wants to be around their team, you're taking farm away from yourself from TPing to the lane. You could go top right now where nobody is, and you could be farming, and then when that fight happens mid, you could teleport in. Like right now, and for this whole time, you could have been hitting creeps top. You could have an extra item by the time the fight starts, and then you TP in, and you get the exact same tombstone that we're about to see in this fight. This would happen the exact same way, except it would have more farm if you had TP, or if you had walked top. See, even impulsively, I'm like, you should TP top, but like, you shouldn't TP in Dota unless there's something that you immediately have to go to. You should always walk first.
That's the point, dude, is unless you have to be somewhere now, you should never be TPing, just because having the ability to be somewhere now is the most game-changing thing that you can do in the entire game. So let's get into this fight. A dusted bounty hunter. They're chasing down bounty hunter. I want the tombstone right here.
Yeah, I agree. They could all turn and kill that right now.
Yeah.
They don't because they're like overcommitted and probably bad.
But anytime you can get a 5-man tombstone, that's pretty valuable.
Yeah. I get it though. It's like quick thinking, you know, you're just like, oh, I gotta get this down. They're going on my guy. Build up the zombies.
Yep.
It doesn't make the tombstone better, but like I understand why you just drop it right there because yeah, because it's just like the fight started, so you kind of panicked, just dropped it. But almost always put that thing on the high ground if you can.
Yep.
Or somewhere, just make it as big of a pain in the ass for the enemy team to hit as possible. That's like why Phoenix started getting good, is people started realizing that the egg can be used to, like, you don't have to put the egg in a spot that's going to hit everybody. You have to put it in a spot that fucks the enemy team if they hit it and fucks them if they don't hit it. That's the thing. You want to give them two crappy choices, and you kind of gave them the choice to hit it, but they didn't hit it. So.
Yep. All right. So in this particular moment, we're gonna see another very classic mistake, which is like, okay, so they just want to fight, right? They just want to fight, and now they're pushing a tower. They've got they've got 3-man advantage, and instead of just being patient, like at this point, if you're a support, you basically should just be sitting in the trees, right?
Yeah.
Just sit in the trees, allow your Viper to hit this tower for free. And instead, he feels like he still has to be doing something, right? I think this is another thing that you and I talked about fairly recently, which is that there's actually a lot of points in Dota where you can actually just do nothing. Oh, yeah. Where it's like... I'm
probably gonna make a video about that. Why doing nothing in Dota is so valuable. Like, doing nothing at all and just thinking is, like, so value. If people just did that and thought more, like, there'd be so many more strategies actually being executed in games as opposed to just this big impulsive mess that is Dota.
Right, so right now, obviously, he's just looking at this PA. All he's thinking about is killing this PA. Instead, if he just sits here, this Viper very freely and comfortably takes his tower, because if Sniper goes on Viper, there's a Undying waiting to heal him. Maybe you can even wrap around on the Sniper. But just thinking about this constant need to kill puts him in the spot where now he's under tower. He's literally just tunnel visioning on this PA. Viper's now tanking these creeps. Like, if the other team was to TP in behind, either here or here, this Undying would be able to do nothing for his team. And especially because he has no tombstone, no ultimate, he's basically just a heal at this point. So there's really no point in being so aggressive, because a lot of his aggressive abilities are on cooldown at the moment.
I would say this goes back to the question of, like, why are you doing this? You always want to ask yourself why. What is the purpose? And your purpose for doing anything in this scenario is to get this tower. And basically there's always going to be, like, an objective at hand, an objective that you want to be getting. And you were already doing your job by being there in securing that objective. You're stronger. You had the man advantage. The Kunkka was dead. So you didn't need to do anything there. You were already winning. You were already securing the objective. That's the problem. If you can't think of why, just do nothing until you have thought of why. That's basically the video that I really want to make about doing nothing in Dota and why it's so valuable.
Yep.
If you can come up with the why in the doing of nothing, then the doing of nothing is going to be super valuable, especially because if you're doing something when you should be doing something else, you're going to die. So defaulting to something instead of nothing is so dangerously game losing.
Yep. All right, so back to fighting. I mean, if you like fighting, Undying is a good hero to pick. I will say that.
I think that fight is okay just because like your team initiated it, but
Yep.
Once again, it's like there's no tier 2 there to take, so unless you plan on going high ground against a sniper, it's not a super value fight to take. However, with that being said, like if your team is already fighting and the fight looks good, then it's like you kind of have to do something,
right?
For the most part.
And Undying is one of those heroes. It's kind of weird. Like you kind of think of Undying as a super aggressive, run in, start a fight hero, but he's actually a better counter initiator, like Axe and Magnus and Enigma, because if you can show up after they've already kind of committed to the fight, then you guarantee that your tombstone's valuable.
It's like it's so much more destructive to them if you're a counter initiator.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point, is like you can play Axe and Enigma and Undying as an initiator, and it's good. Nobody's saying it's bad, but it's much, much stronger to play them as a counter initiator. Like you're gonna get a 5-man wipe instead of killing 2 people.
Yep.
That's how strong it is. Like that was the moment Magnus started being considered broken, is when people played it as this hero that did not show. He was a fucking ninja, man. This guy is so subtle, sitting in the trees, waiting, just getting that huge RP on the most important hero, or like 2 or 3 heroes. And ever since then, Magnus has been ubiquitously broken. So Undying can be played in the exact same way, where it's like, okay, you've committed, now you're wiped, and we're raxing you instead of just getting a tower. Because it's so much harder to fight into a tombstone when you have overcommitted, as opposed to when the commitment is just about to happen.
Yep. All right, let's get into another replay. Do you want to grab one from Discord or from the chat?
Sure. Okay, let's check out the old Discord. We can maybe read chat for a bit, just like 5 minutes or something, or just chilling out reading chat. So
that's fine.
Excuse me. Undying should be the backline, not attacking while he spams Q on enemies, then drop tomb and heal, ult, etc., etc. Keep spamming Q. I would say you probably want to spam your Q on teammates instead, just because heals.
You mean?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, the W. Okay, so you're referring to the Q, right? I use the numbers, so I actually don't know the letters, but in any case, yeah, you're actually right. I would even say like sometimes spamming the Q on enemies past the laning stage is not going to be a good play, just because it potentially puts you out of position, and like really the tombstone is the most important thing. Once again, goes back to the whole Enigma Axe counter initiating thing. It's just much stronger to just focus on that tombstone. If you can get one good tombstone, entire game breaks wide open. But if you're just getting no good tombstones, but you're spamming Q, then it's like you'll probably be effective. I'm not saying you won't. It's just you'll be less effective. Okay, so let's see. So I know Jorge is a Patreon subscriber.
I do
right?
The BM offlane. Is that what you're looking at?
Sure, yeah. Okay, so I'm sorry if you guys linked replays and we're not getting to them, because we're trying to just do replays for Patreon boys. Big Dick Jenkins. I'll introduce myself as Big Dick Jenkins if you subscribe to us on Patreon. How's that? You subscribe to us on Patreon and tell me what your name is on there, and I will introduce myself as Big Dick Jenkins in the next video. Not kidding. We're gonna get demonetized for it, so that's why you need to give me money. But we'll check out Jorge's. Okay, so if you guys are Patreon subscribers, make sure to write in Discord, because we're gonna be pulling from there first, just because we know that's where only Patreon boys are chilling. So we have a few in here. We'll check those out too. We got David.
Shaking my head. Hey, I'm shaking my head too. I don't know how I got roped into working with this.
You know what? I will introduce myself as whatever you want if you subscribe to Patreon. Whatever you want. Go subscribe to our Patreon. Send me your name, and I will introduce myself as whatever you say on there. We can't have that as an actual goal because we'll get banned, but yeah. I'll say it here. Good God. We're gonna get so demonetized.
All right. So I actually looked at the demonetization rules. There was a video that explained it, and it's basically in the first 30 seconds you're not allowed to drop F-bombs or be inappropriate, and then after that you can do whatever you want.
Okay, why first 30 seconds?
Because that's what advertisers care about. They care about title, thumbnail, and first 30 seconds of the video. Anyway.
Fuck yeah, I can fucking swear. Nice.
All right, so we're looking at Beastmaster in the offlane.
Okay, this is great because I actually play off lane, so
Yeah, you play a lot of Beastmaster as well.
oh yeah. So let's see his items. Yeah, these are fine items, I think. How many tangos is that? Is that 6?
Six tangos.
Yeah, that's
Gauntlet, Mango, Stat Shield.
sure, that's fine. I would say maybe you can just go 3 mangoes. Beastmaster already has really good stats at level 1.
Yeah, especially if you're gonna use these so early, because like, I mean, you're already down 60 mana before the lane's even
Right, like a few mangoes lets you send out like 3 or 4 birds and then all of your boars for the lane, and that's all. The thing is just with the Gauntlet of Strength, it's just that you'll get those items from destroying the lane, and he already has enough like base stats.
Yeah, I mean,
it feels a little less necessary than the mana is all.
Without the Gauntlet of Strength, I mean, what he's still gonna have like 66 base damage, which is more than most carries that you're
right
against in lane.
And then his strength gain is like ridiculously high too. So
yeah.
Okay, so you're fighting the lane. You see that Centaur is down here.
Centaur,
CM Centaur.
And actually, they don't have a hard carry, so this must be the hard carry.
Yeah. Okay, so go back.
Yeah.
So really important note here, he does not have a stout shield. You beat the living shit out of him until he cries. Yeah. Like, you just keep chasing him
for that matter. He has no stout shield or regen. So this guy shouldn't be able to touch creeps for, like, basically ever.
So they got 3 bounties. I'm not sure where Drow was at, but in general, I don't think you want to... If you're in like a pressure lane like this, you don't want to just get chased to your bounty rune like that. If the Centaur, like the stunning hero, is standing on your bounty, you can wrap around and just fuck with the CM, and she can't stun you and take the bounty. So you just want to like try to play in between as much as you can, and you definitely don't want to just sit and allow them to intimidate you off the bounty rune. Like, you want to run to the hero who's not going to be able to stun you like that. Bounty runes really matter. Like, giving 3 bounties is like a 60% win rate in Dota, something like that.
Yeah, and also CM, I would definitely be targeting the CM. I mean, this guy still has no regen, so
he's far away though. That's the only thing. I would say you can be hitting the center right now. Turn around and hit him. Hit him. Yeah. He has no regen, no stout shield. Just keep hitting him. There's nothing he can do to you. You have a double range creep too. Oh no, never mind. Sorry, I couldn't see that. But the way that you can trade those, like, you're hitting the creeps. So now that you have a creep advantage, just go hit the centaur. Like, once it's there's no creeps there that are gonna punish you for hitting the centaur, then you should be hitting him, especially because he has no stout. Otherwise you're just gonna, and then if he's backed off like this, you don't want to push the wave. Like, if you're doing your job in zoning them and you're already like winning the lane, essentially when it comes to laning, at the very least in the off lane, there's like a state in which you have won the lane, and this is what you always want to push the game to. The state where you've won the lane is not the state where you're killing them over and over. It's the state where you are standing between them and the creep wave, and there's nothing they can do about it. And that state can happen at 1 minute into the game. That can happen at 5 minutes into the game. It could even happen at 0 minutes into the game, where you just start automatically as the stronger hero. And if you're in that state, like, for instance, if the creep wave is here, you don't want to push it, and you just want to body between them and the creep wave, because then they're not going to get anything out of that lane, and pushing into them, even if they die, they're getting something out of this lane, which is worse for you. So essentially, like, I think this game is already in that state because of the crappy items that they went, and because they didn't play well at the start. And you could absolutely just like have asserted yourself as winning the lane already. This guy kind of gets got out of position.
Yeah, I think that it's really just kind of important to recognize that the laning stage, while it is about accumulating farm, it's more so about who is in control of access to the farm, right?
Yeah.
And so in this case, because this guy, I mean, now he has Tranquil Boots, so he has essentially infinite regen, kind of. But when he showed up to lane, he had no stout shield and no regen other than the ring of regen, which is like very, very low regen. You can essentially just get him down to 200 HP immediately. Like, if he approaches the creep wave, you just hit him until he has to leave, otherwise he dies. And once that happens, how does a 200 HP centaur ever get a creep? He can't, because if he does, he just dies. And
you know, at that point, you don't want to right click. You don't want to like right click him, like past the creep wave, because that'll draw creep aggro, which will push into him. You just want to move your hero without A moving, and move your hero to be a body between. And then if he does come up, then you click him. But you never just like click your hero past the creep wave onto him, because that'll aggro the creeps.
Yeah, you just go stand here and let these creeps fight each other, and then walk back and get your last hit, and then you just stand here again until the next creep wave comes. Basically,
that's like one of the most important things that I learned about laning. It's like the difference between going to actually hit somebody and threatening to hit them.
Yep.
Threatening to hit them should not include any A movement or any attack calls, because attack calls will trigger the creeps to go on you, which will screw up the creep equilibrium, which is the entire purpose of you intimidating him in the first place. So basically, like, make sure that when you're feigning, when you're being aggressive, it can also just be feigning aggression and showing, I'm here, and if you come here, I'll hit you. And a lot of the time, that's enough to get somebody to just stay off the lane, so it doesn't push it, and then you're winning the lane without even having to hit him.
Yep. And I wanted to highlight this particular moment because, okay, we're going to watch CM. He uses Crystal Nova on the wave. So now his creep wave officially wins this trade. It's going to push into your tower if you were to do nothing, which means that you can essentially just do what's called freezing the wave. You can just freeze the wave outside of your tower range, and then you've essentially become the safe lane carry because you're just farming in front of your tower, and they're not even remotely close to their tower.
The lane is already won at that point.
Yeah, if you can get the wave directly in front of your tower as an offlaner or as a safe laner, like, that is the ideal state to be in. If you can just freely hit creeps in front of your tower and nobody can wrap around on you because you have a tower behind you, and you can just infinitely farm right there. As long as you're minding the creep wave equilibrium by denying your creeps and then just like holding the creep wave there. You know, even if all of your creeps die and you just have to tank the creeps for like 10 seconds until your next creep wave gets there, you can just hold it right here, and then you just have free farm for the entire laning stage until something else happens.
Yeah. And the reason why Beastmaster is such an overpowered hero is that it's very easy to get the game to this state because he's just so strong in the early levels. And then also you just send a Hawk and block every single easy camp spawn so they can't pull it back. So either you want to block that easy camp with like some sort of ward, probably a sentry nowadays, to be honest, or like the Hawk, which, by the way, I think it did spawn, which is definitely a mistake. But you can send a Hawk on every single creep spawn for that thing, and if you keep the wave in front of your tower, they will be level 2 when you're level 4, because you can just sit there and zone them. They can't pull the wave back. They have to spend all this time dewarding. Boom, you've just won the lane because there's like a minute and 30 seconds where the support is just dicking around in the. But you can see that she's going to pull now, and this is going to be very, very game winning for them in a situation where they actually shouldn't get anything.
Yeah.
So definitely not blocking that with the Hawk is not abusing like one of the key factors in why this hero is broken right now.
Right.
You want to send a Hawk on every minute mark.
Yep. And I guess at this point, because they did pull, I think that actually pushing the wave is okay. Would you agree?
Yeah, pushing the wave and then side pulling, sure. That's like fine.
Yeah, so now you'd want to go over here and pull this wave and catch your next wave.
You can do it with a boar too. You can do it with a boar really easily.
Yeah.
If you watch a lot of good Beastmasters, if they go like safe lane or even off lane, they'll use the boar to side pull and pull easy camps and stuff like that. Like, you can technically support yourself with Beastmaster because the boar is so ridiculous. It looks like when it comes to your controlling of the boar and your Beastmaster that you're exclusively controlling them together, which is fine if you're learning, but you want to get to the point where the boar can be played as if it's like another hero or like a lone druid bear. I would recommend using the select all other units option, which is it's readily available in the standard options. That way you can use the boar to like harass the CM as she's pulling, and then you can like use your hero to last hit or to pull the side camp or something like that. Just allowing them to be separate is definitely the play. I would not be scared of the Centaur here, by the way, if I were you. I would just beat his ass. He's being like way too aggressive.
Yeah, I was just noticing that.
Now that the CM's there, it's a different story. But like once again, like you can see that your hero is running away with the boar, but if you had two separate control groups or you were controlling with the option that I recommended, you would be able to hit the Centaur as you're running away with the boar. So like you could slow him and you could body block him or something like that. Because all it takes is one command, right click your hero into the tower, and then you'll look like a god, but it's really easy. Use the boar to body block, and everybody's like, wow, that was amazing. But really it's just you literally issued one single command with your hero to run away, and then you highlight the boar and body block with it. That's how people body block with Nature's Prophet too. put your hero to right-click on somebody, one single command, and then you body block with the treants as if they're a hero, and all you're doing is you're just essentially body blocking with a hero, but it looks like you're doing two things at once because your hero will just keep attacking or keep running, right? So it's like,
and
it's just a very easy way to
you
do
actually
these,
don't
like,
have your hero
micro
selected,
plays.
and you're not controlling your hero, is what you're saying.
Yes, you. That's why having like a hotkey or a command to like select all other things.
Yeah. Do you want to link that video in chat, by the way? The micro video that we made.
Yeah, sure. Let's see.
I think that's like one of the best videos that you've made, and it made microing like very straightforward and not complicated. Sir. I think that a lot of people feel like they need to have like 15 different hotkeys when they're playing heroes like Beastmaster and
no, that's
like
that's
like
that. That's like a huge misconception that I think a lot of people. The thing is, I don't come from like an RTS background, so I found a way to micro that worked for me, and a lot of other people were using control groups and stuff. And like I said in the video, I've had people like Nushem and teammates that I played with. They say that I have really good micro, and I don't. It's just simple. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, CM. They're making a mistake by going on this for sure because they're doing this on creeps. Now you can just turn and hit the centaur. You could body block with one of your boars right now, if you essentially did what I was suggesting. And like I said, it's actually very easy. It's not like using crazy control. I barely even use control groups.
I do really like how you spawned the hawk because you couldn't find him in the trees and got a kill as a result.
This guy CM dies here. CM dies here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh no!
You denied your boar.
No, that is such an unfortunate mistake to make in that moment. Yeah, CM's just feeding. He's actually just feeding. Okay. That's a pretty huge mistake. I would definitely say, like, in that moment, moving your boots into your inventory when you're in the shop is the play because it's instant. And having those boots for like chasing people down on Beastmaster more than a lot of other heroes is incredibly important because with the boar slow and boots on Beastmaster, nobody's ever escaping you.
Yep.
Another suggestion about your build, and like I said, I'm an offlane player, so I'm gonna super criticize you for things. Don't go for phase boots first. You want to go for Vlad's like as early as possible, even before boots sometimes, just because the components to it are so value. And the moment you get that Vlad's, you and your boars are essentially 3 heroes. You can run at every single tower, even without level 6. Nobody can fight you. This hero is absolutely broken because of that fact. As soon as you get a Vlad's, this tower should fall, the tier 2 should fall, then mid should fall, and no hero in Dota can really fight you, but only once you have that Vlad's. And it's so value, like, as early as you want to get it, that before boots, like you could have a Vlad's right now with these items, with the amount of money you spend on these items. And the centaur would just have to leave the lane. Like, in fact, your boar would hit him in lifesteal for the amount that his return does to you.
Yeah.
You could just run at them right now. There's nothing they could do with the Vlads. Like, it's absolutely broken on this here. It's kind of like the new Dominator. Like, the moment you get it, you just run at towers and nobody can do anything. Except Dominator's not like that anymore. But it used to be. That's how it used to be.
And to be honest, even right here, I think you're playing too scared considering what your hero is and considering that you have 2 boars up. Like, CM is going to run at you in the next 2 or 3 seconds.
Well, look how much damage your boars are doing to Centaur. He's like the tank.
Right now, if you just turn around, you kill CM. You have Roar. Yeah. Like, you can just roar CM and she dies.
For sure.
So,
yeah.
Like, just, maybe work a little bit on kind of like having that killer instinct. I think that there's a lot of people who, especially when they're learning a hero or, when they're not feeling super confident about their game in Dota, a lot of the time they try to play to not make mistakes. And I think that you should be trying like to outplay at all times because that's how you actually increase your skill level. And so
this is good. Yeah. This is good. This is good. You're taking damage. I don't give a fuck. This is amazing.
I mean,
keep going. Keep going.
Just roar him
keep going.
And he dies.
Keep going, mana. Yeah, kill him. Kill his ass. Kill her too.
Yep.
Like perfect. Do that earlier.
Yep.
Now I'd probably run into the trees.
Yep.
Yeah, this is good.
Yep.
Good.
That was much better.
Go try and come back. Do it again. Every single time you do that, you're going to have an advantage. At a certain point, you will trade almost nothing for doing that. The thing is, like with these items, you trade a lot for doing it because I just think of like a Vlad's would be better. But once you have like an item advantage, you just keep doing that. There's nothing that they can do. That's why you always go for that outplay as early as possible because it gives you that lead that just is unrecoverable for the enemy team. They kind of gave it to you by making mistakes, but you can go and take it.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, so let's go to like 25 minutes. We'll take a look at the items. And, oh. I guess we'll go back a little farther.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
These are good items.
Yep.
These are perfectly fine items. I would probably say like a lot of the time Necrobook second is going to be really good, especially because the enemy team doesn't really have that many right clickers for the Crimson Guard to benefit you. And like if you roar any of them, they're gonna die to the Necrobook, and your damage is not that high. Your damage is basically Slark. Your Drow is like a weird sort of pseudo offlane support Drow, so really it's like just Slark doing damage at this point. So your extra damage and tower push that comes from the Necro units are definitely like super value. I would say I like the Crimson on any offlaner, and the item's amazing in any game. So perfectly fine build, and it's like 80% of the way there. But I think a Necro, even just a Necro 1 and then build into the Crimson, it does 2/3 of the damage of Necro 3.
I don't think you even build Crimson this game. I think you go Pipe.
Pipe is definitely the play. It's definitely a play because they have a lot of magical damage, basically.
Yeah.
They don't have that many right clickers. I mean, Centaur is like kind of a right clicker. Windranger's a right clicker because she has the...
But she also went Maelstrom, which is magic damage. SF magic. DM magic. Centaur is magic burst. Pudge is all magic. Like,
in general, like if you play in any game and go Crimson Vlad's Pipe, I'm never going to criticize you.
Yeah.
In terms of like it being a shit build. It's not a shit build. It's just, like I said, like 80-85% of the way there. Probably Pipe plus maybe even Shadow Blade or Blink if you have no other sort of initiation, which you don't really. And then like Necrobook. Even just Necro 1. Necro 1 is a very value item. Like even back in the day when people were like rushing Necro first on Beastmaster, people would sometimes go Necro 1 into Blink, where it's like Necro is such a value item on this hero that they will go for the Necro 1, and then that's even in games where like nobody else has a blink, and they're going to lose the game if somebody doesn't get a blink. They'll still go Necro 1 just because it's that value of an item. That's why I like Arc Wardens by it. It's essentially like a Midas plus it's like a Midas plus a
like a meteor hammer,
plus
basically.
It does so many things, especially on a hero that has like auras like Beastmaster.
Yep. Okay, so I do like that you sent your Hawk to the shrine. I think that just during the mid game, keeping vision on shrines is like the most important thing if you're gonna like make plays and avoid ganks and stuff like that. So constantly,
I like that you're playing in the
good.
Yeah, and like to kind of piggyback off of that, the reason that you sent the Hawk is because you're playing in a dangerous area. I love this. This is a perfectly fine thing to do on Beastmaster. And now an enemy team is committing to your shrine, so you stop the CM's ulti, which is good, perfect. Now, because you're just Beastmaster and don't really do that much right-click damage, you probably want to like not get in there too much. You can just sit there and give your auras. Although this is fine. This is perfectly fine, but because you're preventing them from hitting the tombstone. Yeah, this is definitely fine.
Yeah.
But when I'm playing like a Sven or a Beastmaster, a lot of the time, in order to like not die and still contribute, I'll just stand at the side of the fight and cast my spells. So if they do commit to me, they have to pay the cost of walking all the way over to me, and then I just run away and kite them. You can do kind of like the turn and kite game instead, and you might have survived in this fight. If like at this point you just run away.
Yeah, I think that.
And let your damage dealers do the damage.
Yeah, from right here, I think you just kind of go position yourself in between Drow and the other team, and you're kind of just like a meat shield, and you're giving her the attack speed aura, the damage aura, the lifesteal aura, and then you're also able to potentially withdraw from the fight if you need to, and it also draws them farther under the tombstone, and they have to decide whether they want to kill the tombstone or chase your team.
It's like, yeah, it's like, once again, giving them, like, a choice between two shitty choices.
Yeah.
That's if you kite them. Otherwise, like, they're just going to hit you because you're the closest target. But if you're still the closest target, but you're farther away, they have to run to hit you. And then your damage dealers can do their damage. I guess the point is, like, when you're an offlaner or a utility hero or support in general, you are not a damage dealer. So you just want to get as much as you can out of your HP as possible, which would involve, like, kiting them.
Yep.
Essentially.
I think that was really good use of the roar, saving it for a big ulti like either
that was really good.
Either CM or SF charging his ulti. Those are like the two that you would basically save roar for all the time in fights.
Yes, I would agree. Like I'm gonna criticize things because we're doing a replay analysis, but that fight was basically played once again like 90% of the way there. The 10% does matter, and it does separate like amazing players from good players. But that was yeah, that was definitely pretty solid. Like, you didn't just use the roar willy-nilly, you actually used it for something important.
Yep.
And you're playing the dead lane, forcing a really shitty fight out of the enemy team. And now you've built a pipe, which this is absolutely an amazing item build. Like, you are super tanky and contributing a lot to your team. You're actually being a giant piece of shit.
Yep.
In the best way possible.
Putting a Hawk in a good spot. They have a sentry there to deal with it, but
now they're killing your Hawk and your team is getting kills, so.
Yep. I don't know if you needed to use the roar there, but that's okay. Just
I think it's
nitpicky thing.
I think it's fine because you're killing somebody like right outside of the base, but if Centaur buys back, you run.
Yep.
Maybe with Pudge being dead, you can fight. I don't know. This guy is hooked, so it depends on how far ahead you are. What's the gold lead? It's kind of blurry for me.
16,000.
Okay, you can probably just push this then, to be honest. You're super strong. They can't do anything. They just lose at this point.
Yeah, positioning wise, I think at this point without roar, you kind of just have to be the frontliner, right?
Sure, yeah, it's a valid way of be the frontliner until a fight starts. But yeah, like whatever you can do to contribute to your team without like hurting that by trying to right click them, because your right click damage is pathetic. But being a frontliner is like a super value thing. So whatever you can do to do that is definitely going to be. You can overcommit to it though for sure. Where it's like, if they're letting you take towers, you just take the tower.
And let's look at this. All right, so this is the last thing that I want to talk about in this video. Because you built these aura items, this is for everybody. For just like hammering the point home, buy these freaking aura items. Look at how healthy their whole team is. They literally just pushed high ground racks that had like a full tier 3. They forced multiple buybacks. Undying's at like 80% HP. Rubik's at 50%. This guy's at 70%. This guy's at like 80%. Drow's totally healthy. Like, this is what having these auras does. Is it allows you to sustain in the fights and continue to push forever, basically.
So I think after this game we can look at the like healing done and the damage reduced, and I'm not sure that it's going to include these because this sort of stat tracking doesn't work all that well in Dota, but if you could see the total amount of damage reduced and damage healed from all of the armor, from the Crimson Guard buff, from the Vanguard that you have and you tanking, it would be a pretty ridiculous amount.
Yeah, I think that we can probably
like,
kind of extrapolate these numbers a bit. All right, so Beastmaster himself did 3,500 in heal.
Yeah.
You can kind of assume that these other heroes, at least the cores, probably did at least that much, as long as you were fighting near them. Because they do more damage than you and have smaller health pools and stuff like that. And then he reduced 43% of damage, while Crimson Guard was up, and with the armor aura from Vlad's, these are probably actually higher than is being shown as well.
Right, and also it's important to note that like these reductions are going to be amplified when they matter more. So like Crimson Guard reduction in a crucial team fight is going to matter so much more than Crimson Guard reduction when you're hitting neutral creeps, you know? So it's like, not only does it reduce by a lot of damage and like Vlad's heal by a lot and give you armor and regen, etc., it can also do like so much more in crucial moments of the game. So it's like, and that's really when it matters.
Yep. All right, grab me another replay.
Okay, let's see. Let us see. So we got a few in the Alcluminati. Jagger posted a BM off lane. We just looked at a Beastmaster replay, so we'll maybe leave that one until last, or maybe you can grab another replay that's not Beastmaster, just out of interest. But David posted a loss with Rasta, so I would like to check that out. We can see a support replay, and then it's also a loss. Like, it'll be our first loss of the day.
Cool. Jorge is Jaeger, so.
Oh, that's Jaeger. Oh, okay, right, gotcha. I've just always known him as Jorge, man.
Don't you mean George?
Because I mispronounced it the first time.
Jorg.
Yeah, exactly. J-Dog. Juicy J. That's me. I'm all of these things. I can just use all of my pseudonyms for him.
It's true.
Sweet.
Where's that
Life is
replay?
good. Oh, okay. You want to link it to you? Got you. Okay.
Yeah, if I go to the channel, then you get off of camera.
I will get off camera later tonight, probably. I'm actually just gonna get us demonetized. Good lord. Dude, my camera's so close on this stream. Why you gotta do this to me? What do you mean you know? Why are you doing this
I
to
just
me?
want people to be able to see your pores. Look at your
Okay.
close-up acne and stuff like that.
Sure, sure. You're projecting, man. I don't got any acne. I'm an adult. Adults don't have acne. They have debt and crippling depression.
Do that.
You look so good, though. Oh my god. John Callahan, man. He's always...
He's just trying to
always got
butter
my
you
back.
up, man.
He's back to John Callahan Sr.
Yeah.
He's earned it.
He's JCJ still.
JCJ. Dude, he's the real Juicy J.
Alright, so Rasta, we got an 0-15 Lion. That's pretty rough, Stain. Just a quick look at the game. Legion. I mean, your hero's pretty good against.
It's a pretty good hero.
Just pretty good against Quap, pretty good against Pudge, pretty good against Jug. Pretty terrible against Phoenix, but that's okay. You can't hard counter everybody.
Rasta's never going to be bad because he can always just push towers if he's in a bad game, and then you always have like a instant disable for a very long duration. So the hero's never going to be bad.
Yep.
Same with Lion. Exact same reasoning. You're never going to be like, oh fuck, I have a Lion on my team, unless he's feeding in an idiot. But that's a whole different issue.
You talking about this game?
Maybe, I don't know, man. I don't know. Shit happens. David. Love that your name's just David. I love people that just use their names as their names.
I like to call anyone with a regular name something exotic, so I'm just going to call him David from now on.
Okay, I got you. That's pretty reasonable.
Hello guys, I'm from India. What's up, man? I'm so glad that you guys are getting an ESL event in Mumbai. That's fucking amazing. That makes me so happy.
I want to get invited to an ESL event.
I would love to go to an ESL event.
That's what I want. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay, so focusing
I love Indian food, man. I'm super into Indian food.
Oh yeah.
My family has made that for forever. It's big in Ireland. It's huge in Ireland. There's tons of Indians chilling in Ireland.
I also love Indian food. Oh, Quelling Blade alert. Quelling Blade alert.
Oh, come on, dog.
Well, luckily you have lots of regen that you can feed him because he's going to run out of regen very quickly against this Legion Commander.
Yes, this is correct. Or have to use the courier. This music sounds like some Indian music, doesn't it?
No. That's okay.
What do you mean, no? You've been in an Indian restaurant, man? Sounds exactly like it.
I mean, I learned to play the tablas and the bamboo flute in school, so...
I don't know what those instruments are.
Tablas are Indian drums. They're like hand drums.
I play the skin flute, that's it.
Well, I mean, that's pretty standard for you. I like this, invading. This is good. You guys
Good
are
shit,
pretty
good
strong
shit.
early on.
Yeah. Probably the first replay we've seen where like the rune contesting is
decent.
good.
This is legend, so
okay.
To be expected. This is like 3.3k, something like that, probably.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. So that definitely makes sense for it. Lion dies in the off lane. Unfortunate. Yeah. Don't touch my rune. So you're whacking him.
You probably want to come over here and hit him from this side. It would be my suggestion, because right now you're just tanking this range creep every time. And it's actually going to push the wave into the Legion Commander, because those like 3 or 4 hits that he's doing on you now is not hitting your creep wave, which means that your creep wave is actually going to push.
Pause it. I mean, you can also just run farther back where the creep will not aggro to you. Like, you could hit him from behind him, closer to his tower. Like, if you, back here. Exactly. Then it's not going to aggro. And that's why Donnie's suggesting you go to the left, because he was standing to the left. Now that he's on the right, you want to go to the right. You know what I mean? Like, you want to follow him around and focus on those creeps and not pushing those creeps while hitting him. That is your only job as a support, is to get as much damage on this guy. Right, exactly.
Yeah, basically where I'm pinging is where I would want you to be standing. So right now, instead of running back over here, I'd run like this and come at him from here. And then he's going to reposition himself to get away from you. Then
okay, so you TP'd away. This
is a mistake.
This is interesting. I don't know if it's a mistake exactly, so let's see. So it's Lion Sven in the off lane versus a tri lane. I would say in an ideal world, you actually just destroy this Legion Commander for a few minutes, then TPing is fine. But
Right.
this has probably not been long enough. You want to give your PA an advantage so that you're not going to, so the Legion Commander still won't be able to lane up there. Like, you only want to leave once you've done your job of securing the safe lane. If it's Legion versus PA, Legion is going to get as much as the PA, if not more.
Yep.
That's the only problem here.
Yeah,
I like that you went to the tri-lane. That's fine, but just Slater, I think, is the ideal situation.
Yeah, basically when it comes to early game rotations as a support, what you want to do is you want to secure the lane first. And what we say when we say secure, what we mean when we say secure, is you want it to be where the core in that lane can essentially function as you plus that core in terms of being able to zone the other hero and control the creep wave.
Yeah. So, which I think would be like, PA probably needs like a 2-level advantage or something in order to do that.
Yeah. And frankly, against the Legion Commander, it's actually pretty hard to get there just because Legion can continually just overwhelming odds of the lane.
But you can feed off of the Legion. Like, she can die in this lane over and over.
Yeah. I agree. So coming here. And here's why I immediately said that this is a mistake, is in addition to leaving this PA alone without having gotten that big advantage, I think that having your off lane die once or twice, and then, I mean, obviously it's just once, but having your off lane feed first blood to a tri lane, and then you immediately go to that lane, so your off lane is already behind on experience, and it's behind on gold. And now you're bringing a third body to soak experience, and you haven't actually gotten anything yourself. So you're basically just adding like another leech to the lane that really can't contest anymore because already lost the lane.
I think a kind of a issue that I see happen a lot when rotations like this occur in pubs is, let's say you kill this Pudge, which I assume you do because you're 3 stunners and he probably dies because it's a big useless fat hero. What if he goes and just flex your PA? Yep. Like, you have essentially just come to this lane, they're still getting experience because you just killed a Pudge, and then your PA is losing. So it's like, it really risks losing the game to leave your lane because you're putting the PA at risk, as opposed to just having this off lane that might feed a few deaths, but as long as they're getting experience. Like, this is the reason people don't do tri lanes, because even if they kill your off lane a few times, they're splitting the experience so many ways, and the dual off lane isn't. They're only splitting it 2 ways, that the dual off lane is probably going to actually end up with more experience. So it's super risky to run a tri lane. And I think you justify it if it's a tri lane versus tri lane scenario. Yeah. Like, you're making it worth it for them because you're splitting experience now too. It's a huge risk on their part, and it's pretty bad.
Yeah, and like you said, what can actually happen is, even if this Pudge dies, if he doesn't die, he can also do this. But he can just immediately go here, and suddenly now they have the experience advantage in the safe lane. And you guys are probably not going to kill a Jug. I mean, you could potentially, but
that core doesn't really die.
That's probably not going to kill the Jug. So they're actually going to end up higher level than you, and the Pudge is going to be able to pressure your PA because the PA is the same level as the Pudge, basically. So he can't just like body the Pudge out of the game.
It goes back to, like, the point of laning is to secure control of those creeps. And killing this Pudge doesn't really do anything for that because he's not the one that's taking the creeps. It's the Juggernaut. And you're realistically not going to kill a Juggernaut or even pressure a Juggernaut with a Shadow Shaman. At least not more than, like, a Lion Sven will. And you can actually pressure a Legion Commander. This is one thing, like, when I play Pudge, like, look, he doesn't care at all. He's just hitting you. He's manning out. Yeah. Like, this one thing when I play Pudge, a lot of the time I'll literally just sit in the safe lane and pull because I can't kill any of the cores in any of the lanes. And then there's no point in doing those actions when it's not going to result in anything just based on how those cores function. And I think against a Juggernaut, you're not going to pressure. Against a Queen of Pain, you're not going to kill him unless you smoke or get like a Hex off from trees. I guess one other thing to note, even if you are making a play like this, it's better to pair it up with something that's also more efficient, like get a Rune and gank, ward while also TPing to secure a lane. Like, you could come bot, kill bot, and then go to mid and kill mid, but also ward both of those locations. So that way it's less of a risk to do this sort of rotation because you're also getting other stuff done as well. But just rotating means that if that action does not pay off, that is a bad action. However, if you rotate and you have other actions that you're accomplishing during that, even if it doesn't pay off, which this kind of didn't, you're still going to get something out of that. And then you can just rotate back up to the PA and say, you know what, I tried to gank, didn't work. I got some wards down. Now I'm going to go back to the PA, and the sacrifice of the PA not getting farm was made worth it because of those wards.
Yep, and surprise, surprise, Pudge did go to the top lane. So he's up here now, and your Lion is up here as well, which I would say is probably worse than a Shadow Shaman PA lane.
But now the thing, it's a lion that's up there against an offlaner that has levels. So it's like it doesn't. Even if you went back up there, it would still be harder for you to do that because there's levels, and then Pudge is there with levels too, and they're zoning the PA, like they're not even laning.
Yeah.
So this is an advantageous lane, and then the bot lane is obviously advantageous as well.
Yeah. So basically, that rotation, it's kind of, it goes back to that sort of old maxim, which is that a lot of time as a support, you want to do too much, and you can actually lose the game by trying to do too much. A lot of the time, you just need to secure one lane or 2 lanes, but most people are too afraid of losing any lanes that they end up losing all of their lanes as a result.
That's like a super good thing to remember. Like if you're gonna remember anything going into pubs, it's just do your job. Like win the lane that you're supposed to win. Don't try to win every lane. If you think about that fact alone and like repeat it in your head as like a mantra, you will legitimately win so many pubs. And I can tell you as somebody who's been dabbling in like the 4 role, essentially like with Skywrath, for example, I might rotate mid only if it looks really good, but my main focus is pressuring that off lane, and I do not fucking touch the safe lane. I completely ignore it because you just can't spread yourself that thin or you'll lose every single lane.
Right.
How often, I would say,
how often when you were learning 4 did you try to do too much, would you say?
All the time,
like
and then it's always so game losing. You always just end up not losing one lane, you lose every lane if you do that. That's the problem. And it's essentially this fact that the side lanes are too far away from each other. You can actually split yourself if you're a good support between mid and a side lane, but you can never split yourself between the 2 side lanes or the 3 lanes. It is just not possible.
Yeah, and the only way that you can split yourself between the 2 side lanes is to use a TP, which basically like ensures that you lose 2 other lanes because now you have no way to reinforce them.
Yes.
Like that's the whole point of being able to go between the bottom lane and the mid lane, for example, as a support. You can be like, okay, I harassed them, blah, 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 blah. My offlaner is now in control of the creep wave here. I don't need to be here anymore, so I'm going to run, check the rune, then I'm going to go maybe gank mid, and I'm doing this all just by simply walking from one place to the other. And then I see them, oh, they're diving my offlaner as I'm walking to mid. Guess what? Because I walked to the mid lane, I still have a TP, and I can come back to the offlane and help this guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I totally agree. That was definitely one of the biggest things for me to learn as a support is that you generally just like one of your lanes is going to lose. And that's okay.
Bottom line is it's incredibly high risk with a decent reward, but it's so high risk. And that is why if you ever see a rotation made in a competitive game, there's always a second or third purpose that comes with it as well, just to make it less risky. And even then, they can completely throw a game by trying to do something like that. Anyway, we can we kind of hammed a lot on it's like one subject, but I think when you're like delving into a specific replay, it's really important to like look at one specific thing that you want to work on. I'm sure there's a lot of other random mechanics that are our issues because for everybody there is, but you don't want to overwhelm yourself with like too much stuff. So I think even focusing on more laning shit right now is actually just going to be detrimental and take away from the big point and the big mistake that happened so far. So maybe we just go check out check out items. I really think that like if you guys are looking at your own replays, do not overwhelm yourself with stuff to figure out. You will not internalize any of it if you're trying to do too much. Like one single thing you want to get better at, focus on that for a week. Once it's an impulse, then move on and look at other issues. If you find an issue, skip past the laning phase because that is the only issue that you're going to be capable of working on unless you're some sort of like Ubermensch or something like that.
Agreed. Okay, so now we're at 20 minutes. We've got Blink, Arcane's, Urn, Wand, Swords. Invoker is working on his Ag still. Ben has a Blink as well. PA has a Battle Fury. And Lion has
nothing. Standard. So you're essentially the essentially the 4.
Yeah.
So I would say on Shadow Shaman, a lot of people that I see are going for Ether Lens first instead of the Blink, just because that way you can build into the mana boots, and then just like a little bit of gold later, you have a tool that's going to allow you to essentially do what the Blink does, which is get on top of people in fights. And to start fights, you just do it from fog. You should be a little bit smarter about it. And but then you can like cast your wards from farther away and hide in trees. Like it gives you a lot of options essentially for Shadow Shaman, and then it's cheaper from the blink too. Like you already have the arcane component with your arcane boots, the mana component to the Ether Lens, so you could probably have one. I really like the urn, by the way. Great choice in the urn. That is definitely the item.
Agreed.
If nobody has that, you want that.
Urn, super good. I also agree. I think that Blink Dagger is an overrated item. I think it's, it's probably like top 3 items in the game, arguably, but I also think it's an overrated item because I think people prioritize getting it when they could just get something like you're saying an Ether Lens. Sure, it doesn't give you like a 1200 distance hex, but with the Ether Lens you can still hex from 900 units, which is like about the same when you actually think about it.
You remember Big Bad Bird?
I mean, I've heard you talk about him a lot.
The guy was like a genius. He played on basically what IX Mike stack is now. Like that group of players, he was like their captain, and they worshipped him like he's a god because he has amazing ideas with Dota, and he was actually way ahead of his time. Like he was doing the suicide on Skywrath Mage and Undying shit years before anybody was doing it in the meta, just because he was like, why aren't people doing this? It's so efficient. And he was right. He was right about a lot of things. And one thing that he said, he has very extreme views, but he was winning at the time. They went to lands, and basically he said, like, think of Blink Dagger. What does it provide you in terms of stats for 2,250 gold? No stats whatsoever. It just gives you the ability to position your hero. Imagine a game of Dota where you can position your hero anyway, just because you're high skill and using smokes and stuff like that, but you also spend that gold on something else that actually gives you the stats. Then you're harder to kill. Then you do more damage. Essentially, like, it's stats that wins Dota. It's having more stats than the enemy team does, so their numbers don't add up to be greater than your numbers and like your HP. And essentially, so like it has to be worth the sacrifice that you're spending 2,250 gold to get no stats, but also like get that blink ability. And I don't think in this game it's worth sacrificing the stats and other things that you can get. So for instance, like an Ether Lens would give you stats plus the ability to use your things from farther away. You go for a bunch of bracers, you'll be immortal, you'll be strong in fights, you could get a Vlad's. Like there are tons of things that you could get that would give you stats plus give you other like utilities on. But the blink, it is just a utility item. There are no stats at all for 2,250. So yeah, I agree, it's completely overrated, and it really, really has to be worth it. But Sven is your initiator in this game. You don't need 2 initiators. Once the fight is started, Sven starts it. You walk in, you use your spells. You don't even probably need an Ether Lens. You could buy something else, like a full Spirit Vessel. Force Staff is really good. I like that. You could have a Vlad's. You could have a mech. You could have Ether Lens. There's tons of things that
you could even go Halberd just because it's good this game. Like,
yeah, sure,
legitimately.
Sure.
And Tornado is also your initiator. You have 2 forms of initiation. You've got Invoker. You've got Sven with a Blink Dagger, and I think actually for the rest of this replay, we're going to look at a couple team fights. I actually want to look really closely at positioning in team fights because I completely agree that Blink Dagger is just a crutch for people who have awful positioning. Just like Shadowblade is a crutch for people who have awful map awareness and positioning to allow them to get to specific places. So I think that people just automatically buy Blink because they're usually not in the right place, and it allows them to get to the right place at the right time more often.
A good comparison is I really suck at Smash, and I've been playing Smash and beating Ellie and Mott in Smash, who are both really good at the game. The way I beat them is I play a character called Little Mac, which is a really fucking cheesy character, and that is the only way that I can win. I can't win with anything else, but it's like so hard for them to beat me when I play Little Mac because I don't play regular Smash when I play Little Mac, but it's because like the reason I win with that is because I don't even use shield. I don't dodge. I don't do any of that shit. Like, instead of learning how to play the game normally, instead I just play this like gimmicky character that can win anyway. And it's so bad, and they annihilate me when I play anything other than Little Mac. And I think that's a good comparison, is that Little Mac is essentially my crutch. Like, yeah. I don't want to learn the game. I don't even know how to use shield, which is obviously dumb as hell when you think about it. But now think about that in Dota. What is it that you're not using in Dota because you're using crutches? Are you not using something that's as basic as a shield mechanic in Smash in Dota? Like, maybe that's the case. Maybe Blink is your crutch. Maybe once you learn to position or something like that a little bit better, all of a sudden you have 2,200 gold in every single game that you're not spending. You have more stats. You're harder to kill. All of these benefits but you're also getting the benefits of having that blink dagger just because you're learning the thing that it was a crutch for.
Speaking of crutches, what about that starting item Quelling Blade that so many people are buying?
What about that?
Is that a crutch that a lot of people are buying as a carry to start out because they're too afraid to last it with 50 damage?
I feel like it doesn't even matter if it's a crutch because, like, you can just buy one from this side shop. It's such a simple argument to me. It's like, sure, use it as a crutch. That's fine. I do too. I suck at lasting, but I just buy it from the side shop. You know, it's also a crutch. Regen. just have. It's like, would you rather walk around with one crutch and like almost fall over, or two crutches at once? You know, it's like I would rather have two crutches or a working leg.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, so here we go. Positioning. We're going to be looking at positioning. We're going to slow this down so we can actually watch it. All right, we're going to speed it up to find a team fight. And then we're going to slow it down to watch positioning in the team fight because I think that is very important.
You guys are playing a lot in your jungle. I would actually say that probably playing in their jungle is a safer option and will get you more kills, etc., etc.
Yeah, you want to be dropping these wards. Like, here's a free tower. Here's a free tower. You have wards free tower.
Yeah, if you're doing that alone and killing yourself and they constantly keep killing you, you're still going to be winning the game. Like, you could look at this game in a replay where you're killing yourself, dropping wards. Exact same kill score, exact same kills have happened. You will have a gold advantage right now. Yep. Because that's how much it draws the attention of the enemy team, so your team can farm safely. And it's going to get you more gold, too. Like, you'll be dying, but you'll be rich. And wouldn't you rather be rich?
All right. So here we go. We found ourselves a fight.
Okay, so... Okay. So it's in your jungle. Your team starts fighting. Sven goes in. I would definitely say what you're doing right now is already an issue with positioning. Invoker's farming this mid lane. There's no reason for you to be standing there watching him farm that.
Yep.
Instead, you should be standing like near the most likely area that your team is going to engage in a fight. So that way you will already have the ability to get into it without having to spend all that time walking over. You could have wards down, hitting them for a longer duration, or get a stun off on an important target. Like, it's already a problem that your map positioning is obviously going to play into team fight positioning because it's going to determine where you are when the fight starts. You could be standing in trees like to the left here.
Right here.
Right there. Exactly. And then you're closer, and you're not just leeching experience from the Invoker.
Not only are you leeching experience, but you are letting them know where you are. Like, so they actually know that this lion does not have a Shadow Shaman anywhere near him.
Yeah, and with Legion Commander on the enemy team, that hero like doesn't want to get hexed after dueling. So that's very crucial information to her, that she sees that you're there, because it's like you're the only person that protects Lion from just dying to the duel. Sven kind of can with his stun too, but I think he actually gets dueled himself. So you walk over. So you killed the Legion first, so that's very good. So you can just hex the Pudge here and focus him because he's right in the front. He's putting himself in a terrible position.
Shackles is also fine.
Yeah. So
the Hex.
Blinking on the Queen of Pain is kind of useless there because you don't have any... Oh, you do have the Hex, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry, you do have
he
the Hex
he blinked and hexed, so that was definitely a good play.
The issue with this fight, though, is that like even killing them doesn't really accomplish much. If you don't have the blink and you're fighting in the right location, you will not kill the Queen of Pain there, possibly, because you won't be able to blink hex her, but you'll be able to... number one, I think if you had Ether Lens, you get her anyway, but if you're fighting in front of like their tower, for example, and you don't get those extra kills that came from the blink, you'll still get the tower. Like, killing two people in a fight still accomplishes exactly what you want in a team fight, which is just to have a man advantage on the map, so that way you can just do whatever the fuck you want. That's all it's about. Is that team fights are about like gaining the map advantage, so you can put wards down, so you can push towers, so you can take Roshan, and once you have that, like, you don't need to get any more kills really. You can just go push objectives.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like, you could potentially win a game of Dota without ever getting a kill, because all you have to do is take the buildings.
Yes.
And you can't win a game of Dota if you have a million kills but have never hit a building. So it's like, you know, that's a very extreme example and way to put it, but at the same time, if you think about it like that, like, kills are essentially worth nothing unless they actually accomplish something. Okay, so we'll go back and look at this fight.
So once you've dropped wards, your job is done. You don't need to be standing up here.
You definitely go back over here and wait for something to happen. You don't leave the area, or maybe you go walk over here potentially.
So right then, like when the Legion used the Q on you, is when you should have died, and you're a very important target because you're disabled. they want to kill you first. So you're giving them like the ability to kill you first. If Legion's smart, she just duels you. I don't know what she was doing, but so you blink away, but you shouldn't have been there in the first place. So like the blink was useful for you in this situation, but only because you were out of position in the first place.
Yep.
Like you didn't need to use the blink to get that. You blinked to exactly where Donnie said you should walk away to.
Yep.
Like that is the good position for you to go to. So you blink there, but you could just walk over there because once you've dropped the wards, I mean, what's your damage do to the tower? It's like 1 ward of damage. It's really not useful, and you're just giving yourself away to the enemy team. It's like, come get me. I'm a nice spoonful of honey and yogurt, and you're going to use me to make a smoothie. I don't know. Like, they're salivating because you're just the most important hero standing there right in the front.
Yeah, and actually, the best part about having a blink dagger is that you can stand as far away from the other team as possible and still be useful in the fight. Right?
You can counter initiate.
So once you've dropped the wards, and I really like to think about, I actually want to make a video on this, and there's a great video by this dude named Professor Fierce. Do you remember that guy from YouTube?
Yeah.
Who made a video about zone control, is what it was called. So basically, because if we look at your hero, you have a blink dagger, you've got a force staff, and you have 2 disables. So you actually have very strong zone control because your hero has the ability to relocate yourself and also create some disable or disruption in the fight. So you have 1,200 units of distance plus a force staff of 600 units, so 1,800 units, which is about like right here. Something like that, probably about right here. So you can actually control this entire area. That's how big your zone is that you can control. It's like this whole area. Now, if you're standing in the middle of that area, and actually it kind of goes, sorry, this is very tangential, but I think it's actually important. If you go back to your video about camera control, zone control is kind of like camera control, because here would be bad camera control, right? Because you're wasting all of this area of the screen.
Yeah.
Correct? This is better camera control because you're not wasting any area of the screen and you're getting all of this information.
Correct.
Now, if you can control this entire area as a zone, why would you not want to just stand on the edge of the zone as far away from danger as possible and still be able to control this entire important area of the zone?
Like, if you want to be the hero that gets gone on, but you're not, so...
Right. So, like, right now, you're controlling, yeah, this entire area, but do you actually need to control over here, or over here, or over here, or over here? No, you need to control this area. So all you have to do is position yourself in a way that allows you to still control this area of the map with your repositioning items, and then you are, number 1, out of vision, so they have no idea where you are, which means you could be anywhere, and number 2, you are not in danger of being clipped by anything, so you can actually use your items and use your spells. So if you're just simply on this part of the zone, you can control the only important part of the zone. Regardless, you can still control the zone where you are standing right now, but you're also just wasting a huge amount of time and making yourself in vision and dangerous at the same time.
It's very much so like in relation to efficiency, and similar to the Beastmaster replay where we saw like you could have kited on Beastmaster instead of just tanking and sitting there. It's like you can get more out of this by being as far in the corner of the zone as possible. You're still doing the same thing and being there and doing your job, but you're making it as hard for the enemy team as possible to stop you from doing that. Just like if you're a Beastmaster and you're tanking and you're hitting them, you're making it easier for them to hit you by standing there. If they're going on you and you're running away, they're still doing that, but you're doing your job better. It's literally just like efficiency in doing the actions that you want to do in the game.
Yep. Okay, so let's watch more fight and then go to another replay.
Okay. I'm taking a break after this one. I gotta take a leak.
Sure. Okay, so
Out of the old mushroom. The old groin mushroom, you know. What? What? You got a problem?
Yeah.
Alright, let's
not at all.
let's check this out. So smoke up. This is fine so far. You blink out. Sven should probably be the one initiating, to be honest, because this is like a full 5-on-5 engagement. So unfortunately, you just used both of your spells to start the fight, and this exact thing that's happening right now could have happened without you doing that. Sven could have just blinked in and gone on the co-op regardless.
Yeah.
And now you don't have the force of the blink. That's definitely an issue. I think like a big focus here is like, what is your job in the game? Like let other people do their jobs. if it's their job.
Also, target selection. Pudge is the least important person to use any of your spells. Or
Oh yeah, you don't want to go on Pudge. You don't want to go on Pudge.
There's basically no reason to ever go on Pudge. So we're gonna watch this one more time. Smoke up happens, and you have this ward here. So we'll actually put it as player's perspective. Good for this part. You have vision.
So wait, can we pause it for a second? I want to talk about like if I'm you, like what I would be looking at in this game. So if I'm you, I look at Pudge, I see a completely useless hero who wants you to go on him. Like Pudge is like going on a Spirit Breaker. It is just not worth it. That is like, he's a big tanky meaty boy. That's what he wants you to do. It's a waste of your disable. Going on Phoenix is going to help you in the team fight aspect. If you really need to not have that egg get off to win the team fight, then going on Phoenix is important. However, I think that Phoenix is not that important. Like if you have BKBs and you're just strong in general, like a lot of the time you can just ignore the egg. So you don't have BKBs, but I think you guys are still relatively, you're like okay strong, so you could probably ignore the Phoenix. It's still a good hero to go on. You have the Lion, but I don't want to go too much into like separating your disable. Like if you consider Lion will get Phoenix and all of that stuff, it gets so much more complicated. In general, it's better just to think about like who's the best target for you. Phoenix is a really good target. If you can disable him, it's really good. However, you have a Legion commander on the enemy team who I believe can purge your shackle. So that's why you don't want to initiate, because if you initiate and Legion's a good player, Legion will just instantly purge whoever it is, or heal them, or keep them alive. So Jug and Queen of Pain are good targets too, because they do a lot of damage. And if the damage sources are gone in the fight, generally, and yours aren't, you're going to win the fight. So I think honestly in this game, probably like it's Jug, Phoenix, or Queen of Pain that you go on after the Legion commander has already went in the fight and is dueling, or has already used her purge, or has shown herself far away. Like you want to focus on where the Legion commander is, and then go for Jug, Phoenix, or Queen of Pain. Phoenix if you're worried about team fights, Queen of Pain and Jug if you're worried about damage. So let's see what you do. So you blink in, start the fight.
Before we get into that, there's one other thing that I want to talk about. Okay, so Queen of Pain has an Aether Lens, or an Aeon Disc. So actually, maybe not that good of a target to go on. Jug has an Aegis, also maybe not that good of a target to go on.
So it's Phoenix. It's Phoenix.
Yeah, so it is Phoenix. And also, I think it's not being aggressive. I think it's about being defensive in this case, because they have all these tools. So if you actually jump in and initiate with a Hex,
that's what they want.
That's what they want, because they have all these tools to absorb those spells. And once you use them, then they're super not useful. So I think it's actually better to simply just be sitting back here and kind of controlling, again, using this word, controlling this zone. Because generally speaking, most people, when they go high ground, will either do two things. They will either not commit hard enough, or they will commit too hard. And so if you can be sitting back here, and let's say this Jug blinks in to kill your Invoker, he's going to have to blink into like your tier 4s, at which point you can just be sitting behind your Invoker and Hex and shackle him and kill him where he cannot be saved by his team. Same thing with Queen of Pain, same thing with the Legion commander. Like all of them are going to have to basically like go too far into your base, or potentially Pudge might hook one of your teammates out of the base, in which case you should basically just be a defensive like stoppage to that dismember. So I don't think that actually being aggressive in this scenario is a good way to play the fight.
No, that's a really good way to throw the game. Like, even if the enemy team has Aegis and all of these tools in 10k gold lead, it can take them like 4 or 5 high ground pushes to win the game if you guys just aren't going on them. Like that's one of the biggest game losing mistakes I've seen in a lot of pubs for sure. Is I didn't realize that Jug had an Aegis, but going on them when they have an Aegis is exactly what they want. The whole idea of sieging is that they hit your tower, and if they're smart, they'll siege in a way that forces you to go on them, and they're not even sieging and you're still going on them, which is what a good siege would be, is forcing you to go on them, because if the enemy team doesn't go on you and you're sieging, you just get the tower. So that's essentially why, like, you don't want to go on them, or you want to go on the right target, or do a wraparound, or just nuke them out and try to push them off the tower without committing, because the committal is exactly what sieging is trying to force. So you're essentially allowing them to force that without actually doing anything skillful. Like they're not being skillful in their siege at all. They're literally just chilling outside your base. You go on them, presumably you get wiped because you're a 10k gold deficit. Like, abuse the fact that it's so hard for them to go high ground. That is your last line of defense, where so many games in Dota can be turned, as long as you are trying to be as efficient as possible and use those tier, like chasing out of your base even after killing like 2 of them is sometimes even a mistake. Yep. Because a lot of the time you can fight on high ground, but nowhere else in Dota. Like the Roche Pit and high ground are the 2 places where it's like, even if you have a 10k gold deficit, you can still probably fight there because they're so strong for you.
Yep, agreed. Okay, so we go and we hex the jug, which, as we learned, is probably not the play. Queen of Pain shows up.
So this fight is good for them because your cooldowns are off, and now you've committed outside the base, so your tower's not there. They're not going up the high ground. You guys don't have spells. You guys are going on the Pudge. Now Sven is dead, and now the fight is like fucked for you. You basically lost already just from this.
Like right now, if you weren't going on Pudge, you could just hex Phoenix right now, and this would stop Supernova at the very least from completely owning you. But now there's going to be a Supernova on your high ground as the rest of the team is running in. And
oh yeah, you're screwed.
The game is basically over. Like, I don't see any way to win this game. And obviously none of them have buyback either. So, I mean, holy shit. The fact that none of you have buyback means that you should absolutely never, ever play aggressively there. Like 0% of the time should you be aggressive if you have no buyback.
Yeah, that's definitely you basically threw away like your last opportunity to turn the game, and it's not even like a 10% chance. Like, pushing high ground is very hard, especially if you're the guy that's like, hey guys, just defend high ground. Like, if you can keep reminding your team of that, which is very easy to do in pubs because, you know, you're trying to win the game. People will a lot of the time listen, especially because it's a good call. If you're reminding your team of that in every single game, you're giving yourself like a 10% extra chance to win every single game of Dota because it is that hard to push high ground. Like, high ground is one of the most annoying things to do, especially with a bunch of people that aren't communicating with each other.
Yep.
Like, this Phoenix is going to fuck up. The Jug is going to run in and die to the tier 4s. Like, that happens. That it is that hard.
Yeah, I mean, this is a full HP tower, and you can literally just be like, you don't even have to be like, hey guys, stay on high ground. We got, like, you can literally just be like, chill, kill the wave. Like, that's all you have to say. And it's like, then you run up and you literally just nuke the wave, which basically kills it. And then Sven can Stormbolt it, or PA can just dagger it, or Invoker can kill it with Tornado. Like, there's so many ways for them to just never have creeps, which means that they can't push high ground.
Well, you can also spam PA daggers. Invoker can spam all of his spells. You can spam nuke out the wave. Lion can spam nuke out the wave. Sven can spam nuke out the wave, or just spam nukes on people. Like, you can force the Jug spin by just Stormhammering him. Like, you have a lot of ways of just poking them. Literally every single one of your heroes has a poke ability.
Yeah.
So it's actually very hard for them to push high ground in this game in particular. So yeah, it's definitely something you want to abuse. And in general in Dota, it's hard to push high ground because most teams will have some sort of hero that can poke.
Yep. So anyway, you just nuke this wave. You make them actually walk up, and if they walk up after this wave is already dead, that's a huge mistake by them because they don't have any creeps to tank the tower, so they're taking tower damage. And then you can just drop the wards like right around your tower, basically behind your tower, so they actually have to go like into your base to kill the wards, which are just hitting them constantly. And like there's so many ways to position this fight to where you don't just like immediately lose, which is what you kind of did.
Goes back to like the same kind of concept, like the ward thing you said goes back to the same concept of the whole zone issue. Is that like if you put the wards at the edge of the zone and they have to chase through all of this bullshit to get to your wards, you're forcing so much out of them just to kill those wards.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Cool. You want to do like one more? I guess we'll give you a break. I'll read some chat.
Sure. I'll be right back in like 30 seconds, depending on how full my bladder is.
Cool. So it looks like people are talking about the looks like people are talking about the major, which is cool. We're in the process of making a video about all the major teams actually, which should come out later tonight / maybe early tomorrow morning. And we're not going to give our predictions in the video, but we're going to kind of highlight like what each team does well. So be sure to check that out. I personally think if I had to look at the teams and decide who is going to win, my bet is either EG, Secret, or probably LGD are the three that I would say are going to win. I'm not super confident in VP at the moment. When will the reset come for MMR, dude? I have no idea.
Oh, that was a great massive piss out of my cock that I took. Oh, hello. Oh shit, was my mic on?
Yep.
Man, okay. Let me go ahead and mute that. Okay, my mic's muted. Fuck, that was a great cock piss. That was excellent. Why are you laughing? Can you hear me? Or what?
No, I'm laughing at how dumb you look. That's all.
Okay, that's good. I'm just glad you didn't hear what I said. That's all that matters to me in life. If I heard that anybody heard what I said a couple of moments ago, I think I would, there'd be some issues for me definitely in life. Especially because my parents said, like, if they hear me saying that word one more time, I'm out. I'm done. They watch all of these streams, so
they disown you for good.
yeah. And I actually have an older brother who has some disabilities and issues, and they said they just put him out on the street and let him die. So it's like, for my sake and the sake of my family, I'm really glad nobody heard me say what I said, because if my parents heard that and they're watching the stream, they're actually most of the viewers, then I would be completely fucked. So that's definitely good. Anyway, let's get into this replay analysis.
Yeah, before we do that, who do you think is going to win the major? We've been getting some questions in chat about that.
Who do I think's going to win the major? We have a sick dank-ass video coming out.
I just plugged that, so just give me predictions.
Nice. Okay, all right. Okay, let me look at the groups. So, Chongqing major groups. Gotta make sure not to mispronounce that one. Let's see. Okay. It's like I have some like not too bold predictions, and then I have some like other predictions. I feel like most likely to win the tournament is probably going to be some like, it's like Liquid,
even with Shadow as carry, without Miracle.
Oh, actually, oh my god, never mind. Never mind. No, Miracle is like probably the best player on the planet. So I totally forgot about that. No, I would say Liquid is, they'll probably do pretty well, but they're nowhere near as strong as I think they were. Honestly, from watching like Vichi's replays and Aster's replays, I don't have a lot of faith in them to beat the tier 1 teams. That's nothing against them. It's just, when you've been losing to like eHomes and these random other tier 2 Chinese teams in these like random tournaments coming up to the tournament, it doesn't look good for you. Whereas like I think Team Liquid or Fnatic would just slaughter. In fact, Fnatic has been like destroying everything up until this tournament, which is what you would expect from a team of their caliber. So I would say like VP. It's such an obvious prediction. It's like VP, Fnatic, EG are basically like my number one slots.
Interesting.
I would say.
I said Secret, EG, and LGD were my top 3.
Secret is pretty good. Secret is pretty goddamn strong, to be honest. I would say Secret's probably up there as well. I don't have a huge amount of faith in LGD just because I watched them lose to Vici in the qualifiers, and since then I've just been thinking like they feel kind of shook a little bit after like TI. They really feel like shook as a team.
Interesting. I don't think that Ame is up to par with the rest of their team, to be honest. I feel like he's like consistently out of position in fights and just gets caught out in places where he shouldn't. And like he basically gets saved by the fact that Chalice, FY, and Xnova are like god tier at their positions.
To be honest, I watched well, it's more so that like I watched Vici do a lot of kind of stupid shit in some of their replays, which happens. I mean, these guys are literally like top 10 players, right? So it's like I'm shitting on them, but in comparison to other top 10 players,
right?
And then they 2-0 LGD. So that's why I feel like LGD. I really feel like LGD Vici should not be able to hold a candle to LGD if they looked as strong as they did pre-TI. So I just really don't have faith in the Chinese teams. I did have faith in Team Master just because of the players on it, but after they replaced D-Stones with Love You, Love Me, that just makes me feel like there's issues in the roster that are, it doesn't matter how good individually players they are. If you're replacing a player like shortly before tournaments, there's going to be some issues there. So I actually just don't have faith in any of the Chinese teams in this tournament, which is funny because it's a China tournament, so the home crowd's going to be on their side, but they just haven't been looking as strong as some of the, Secret looks amazing, Virtus Pro looks amazing, Fnatic looks amazing. Fnatic is easily the best team in SEA. TNC Predator even I believe they took a game off of Fnatic. So TNC Predator is even looking good in terms of SEA.
Yeah.
And then EG, obviously the best team in North America, top 3 in TI. They win tons of shit. South America, they're totally fucked. They're gonna get nothing. Alliance is good, but not as good as the tier 1 teams.
Yep.
By any means.
Forward, I don't think that they play fast enough for the current meta. I think they just they rely too much on resolution to carry every single game, and I think
Forward actually beat EG in the qualifiers, but I feel like that was I mean, I'm not gonna call it a fluke or something like that, but it's just in tournaments these things happen. Like you will have a team will just have a bad day, bad series, bad draft. I think that's what happened there. I think Forward is really good, but I don't see Forward as being any better than JStorm. I think JStorm with Fear is about equivalent to Forward, and EG is on like a level above them.
Yep, I agree.
In my opinion. Unless JStorm has had some sort of like miraculous 1 month of training, which is possible, especially when you have a TI winner on your team. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm super excited for it. At the very least, I'm super excited for this tournament.
Speaking of TI winners, I actually think that eHome has a chance to be top 8, if not top 6. They also could completely flame out, but I think they could easily make top 8 because if you look at their roster, I think that Faith Beyond is like top. He's top tier. He's super top tier. Him and Innocence together are very, very good, and then they have Zhao 8 drafting for them, and Zhao 8 is like a trump card against a lot of people.
I just think that there's so much of a difference between the tier 2 and tier 1 that I don't really consider anything that we saw in the minor as being super important. Only when you're comparing to, I think like eHome winning the minor means that they could be better than Forward, JStorm, these like tier 2, tier 1 teams. But when we're talking like Fnatic, Evil Geniuses, EG has Arteezy and Crit, who are ranked 1 and 2 in Europe and America, and then 2 TI winners, and then a guy who's won 4 majors. Plus, they got 3rd in TI and are the same roster, and they've just consistently won shit. Like that is a spooky roster in history of that roster. You know what I mean? Of like currently being very high individual skill and at least top 3 in terms of team skill as well. And you combine those two things, and it's a fucking insane roster. And then Fnatic is basically all of the best talent in Southeast Asia combined. Like you have these tier 1 teams that are just way, way too good. So the tier 2 stuff doesn't mean all that much to me. However, it's possible that there's some transformation or some like hunger that these teams have, but that's hard. That's hard to predict, and I don't really want to predict that. If I had to predict, I would say JStorm is that dark horse. If I had to predict one team to be the dark horse, I would say JStorm could get number 1 if it's any team.
Cool. All right, let's take one more replay, and then we'll call it, because we've been doing this for like 2 hours now.
Okay.
So if you got one more replay in Elk Illuminati or in the chat.
Nepis. I'm a Nepis lover. What is Nepis? Government.
Being top on NA ladder is nothing. The fact that you actually think that being top on NA ladder is literally nothing is literally nothing. Your opinion is nothing.
I mean, Arteezy is like a LeBron James of Dota. I'm sure. Okay, being top 1 is nothing. How about like being top 10 on like 5 accounts? How's that sound? How's it sound being better than literally every other player that plays MMR in North America? Pretty impressive. Like that guy is like hands down one of the most skilled individually players in the world, which doesn't mean that he's a good teammate. Doesn't mean he's a good player, but it does mean he's a good teammate. The fact that his fucking team got 3rd in TI, like that proves it. That's what I'm saying. When you combine the individual skill plus you prove your individual skill somewhere, and you prove also that you're a top team. That's a scary team. Try being top 100 on EU. Top 10 is top 100 on EU.
I'm pretty sure that if Arteezy goes to EU, that he's going to be top 5. Pretty sure his MMR is high enough to be top 5.
I'm like I know you're joking, but this is something that like a lot of Europeans actually argue about. So that's why it's like as a North American, it's like this is something that you can say it jokingly, and I can know you're joking, but it's still going to trigger me just because so many Europeans come to the server and they're just like, this fucking game sucks. Europe's so much better, and they're like feeding, and it's like, why are you feeding then? Like, I don't get it.
All right, give me a replay.
Oh, okay, right, that's my job. All right, so let's go ahead and look in the Raven messaged another one. We already checked out Ravens though, didn't we?
Yeah.
Raven's online right now.
Well, pick a
What's
different
going on, Raven? You liar! You liar! All right. RFX has support Venge, David. Okay, we already checked out David's. All right, we can check out RFX's. So if you guys are Patreon subscribers, make sure to get access to our exclusive Discord
Discord?
thing. We actually chat a lot with so for anybody who's not a Patreon subscriber. We chat quite a bit in here, just about behind the scenes stuff. Like Alcluminati has actually been super valued. Kind of like a secret alchemy council. So if you want to join that, you just go ahead and go into that Patreon. Okay, all right. Let me link this to you.
And to be clear, for you people tuning in from EU at this ridiculous, ungodly hour for you, we do appreciate you watching, even if you are dirty Europeans who smell bad.
Oh my god. Hey man, all right. My family's Irish. I got nothing against Europeans.
I never said that you weren't a dirty European who smells bad.
Wait a minute. Actually, my family does have shit against Europeans. My family is Catholic, so yeah, they
All right, support
they don't.
bench.
We do not talk about Alcluminati unless we're on the alchemy stream. Then we do.
Dude, you're
Then we
playing against
chill.
Somnus? Oh my god, you guys lost. And HFN.
Holy shit! You're against Somnus
And
What?
HFN.
Holy shit!
Pretty rough.
I mean, that's the GG right there. We don't even need to look at this replay. All right, let's look at this. Axe, Grim. That's a pretty strong lane. That's Clockwork. Oh, it's Clock Axe. That's not a strong lane.
Turn to ban.
That is not.
Clock. Arguably the worst hero in Dota at the moment.
One of the worst. One of the worst for sure.
Prepare for battle.
So you're laning safe lane with a troll. That's a really strong lane. Troll plus Venge. You guys can basically annihilate a Clock Axe. Troll's actually one of the better heroes versus Axe. He just does so much harass. You can actually bully him through his regen and spinning, etc.
Yeah, you don't have to be threatened by spins because you're also a ranged hero as well as a melee hero.
Yep, exactly. So you can get all the last hits with the Quelling Blade, but then... Okay. That's, I would definitely look to potentially contest theirs, depending on what you can see on the map. I guess you don't see where the Grimstroke is, so that's a little scary. Your stun was very early, by the way.
Yeah, you want to
You
stun
def-
at like 1 second, basically.
Yeah, that's a little minor thing, but getting the rune stolen is definitely a pretty big GG there, especially because like if you get the rune and he has cogs, he's just lost the game based off of that alone. That's super game losing.
he actually can't pressure you at all as a support then. Like
Yeah.
this
Oh, so it's a tri lane up here. What's going on?
Interesting.
Okay, so against a tri lane, I would definitely look to like try to pull ASAP. They should be pressuring you a lot harder. They're not. But against a tri lane, I would like really look to pull and then just send a double wave into them over and over and over again, because then you'll get a shitload out of the safe lane against 3 people, and they'll just be super starved for experience. Like in general, if you're against a very high pressure safe off lane as a safe lane, I would say you want to like look to pull immediately, which is why you should almost always start with the sentry ward. So let's see, is the pull blocked? I don't think they blocked the pull.
No. And
No,
I
they
mean,
didn't block the pull.
here's the thing: like you're literally just posturing to try and maybe get a right click in or something, or maybe throw your magic missile, which does 100 damage, and then you have no mana. So, what ultimately are you going to accomplish by being here? Basically, nothing. Like,
Yeah, I think they're side pulling too. So because you're not pulling and they're side pulling, like they're gonna get a pull off and you're not. If you both pull at the same time, then that's fine for you because you're
in a losing lane, basically.
yeah,
So.
you're just you're in a losing lane. So if you can get something from the pull, it's fine. So what are you doing? You're chilling. So you're going bot. Once again, we've really hammered in for that other replay the issues with this, so I don't want to talk about it too much, but going here is definitely.
And tri-laning
Not-
against an axe in the same
He doesn't
lane
care.
makes
Yeah,
no
he doesn't really
sense at
care.
all.
Like, he's not a hero you want to shut down. You want to shut down the PA. So you really want to punish them for doing this stupid tri-lane. Even in dual offlane with a PA, you can punish her just by pulling that camp and shoving double waves into them. And once you have more experience, which you'll get from pulling, this guy should be dead right now, by the way. But
Yeah.
once you have more experience than them, then you can kill the PA, and then you're pressuring even harder. But that all starts with the pull.
Right, and
So
I
you're-
mean, this is your win condition, and he's just completely left alone.
Well, him and Huskar, but Huskar's free farming mid.
Yeah.
Presumably.
They're about even, actually.
I mean, I would prefer if you're gonna rotate anywhere, you go kill mid and help your Huskar, because at least he's like a win condition.
Yeah.
Tide's already gonna free farm against an axe, or he'll do fine against an axe with a little bit of lich support.
Yeah.
You don't need to be down here. It's just like Axe doesn't care if you pressure him. But if you're getting a Huskar farm or you're getting a Troll farm, that's super worth it. But like getting a Tide farm, it's like, who gives a shit if he gets farm?
Yeah.
And Axe too. Like there's a lot of problems with this basically.
I mean, this Axe is gonna end up being over leveled because he's just alone, and you guys are splitting experience. Like Ty's Ravage is gonna be online so late because you're tri-laning, which is a huge deal for hitting a timing with Huskar being strong, pushing towers. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say a big mistake is going to this lane.
Go back
Especially because you would just once again, this is similar to the other replay where this lane would be doing just fine if you weren't here, but you could be also winning top because they left the pull uncovered and they're just straight up not playing this well. Like there's a lot that you could abuse up here. It's miraculous to me that this troll hasn't died like 1,000 times. Doesn't the Grimstroke just put the Ink Swell on PA and he jumps on the troll, then troll dies?
Yeah. And now Kunkka's up here. Yeah, okay,
So
dead.
now he dies. Kunkka makes this rotation because he's against a Huskar, so he doesn't want to be mid.
Yeah. And now you're losing tier 1 tower at 4 minutes into the game because you left the lane, which is actually terrible. This is
while they're pushing this. If you're up here, you could get those bounties. By the way, like they're not going to get the bounties because they're bad players.
Yeah.
But you could be going like there's essentially a lot that you can accomplish up here, even if you're losing. Just to, like making this lane not lose is super effective. In fact, I'm making a video on like how to win any 1v1 and basically like the idea is the reason it's really important to focus on like how to go even in a lane that's supposed to lose is because generally in Dota you're going to draft one winning lane, one tying lane, and then one losing lane. And if you can win or tie the losing lane, you just stomp the game usually.
Yep.
So like that's why your job as a 5-role support can be so impactful if you know how to handle a safe lane like this, which I think they gave you the options to do that.
Yeah, I mean just remember back to one of your games where you were playing in a lane that you guys should have won, and then you had like, or you were playing in a lane that was like even or whatever, and you had some like unbelievably good counter. Let's say you had like a Monkey King against a Slark in lane or something like that in the off lane, or you had, I don't know, an Axe Tusk against like a Spectre. Like if that Spectre, if you're playing the game and all of a sudden that Spectre is just killing your Axe and Tusk over and over, just think about how pissed you are.
It's over. It is
like the
so
game is just over.
Yeah.
And you basically made that happen by doing this rotation.
Like a lot of competitive teams will literally just call GG in a scrim if that's happening because it's like that's not even a game of Dota. It's so fucking hard to come back from that because like you have this super high percentage of winning a certain lane and taking that advantage and making something out of it for the other lanes in the mid game. But if there's nobody who has an advantage, there's nobody to make space or to take advantage of in the mid game. You just lose. Like you just get those are stomps. That's stomps. That's usually how stomps happen. Is It's when the losing lane wins. And a lot of the time the safe lane is the losing lane. So if you can consistently win the losing lane, you're going to consistently win. That's why you can actually gain MMR with 5-roll right now. I know a lot of people who are like top 100 with 5 because they're just really good at playing some Oracle or some Lich, and they do these tactics. They only do this for like the first 10 minutes of the game, and then they're useless, but they win because they have a core who's farmed who shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, this Axe is now level 5 at 6 minutes. Clock is level 4 at 6 minutes. And
Hey, here's that situation where like there's like all the lanes are basically winning, except for mid, but it doesn't even matter. There's a 2k gold lead, or 3k, or whatever. I can't see the number, but it looks high.
It's a 1k lead.
Oh, well still, at this point in the game, with a Huskar mid, like Huskar usually destroys people mid.
Yeah.
So I'll ask pick Huskar.
Yep. I agreed. Okay, so we've harped on that enough. Now they've made the switch, so Lich is actually top with the Troll, which is better.
But it's too
late.
It's too late though. It's too late. Okay, Huskar somehow dying. That's pretty good. Kunkka's actually doing a decent job at winning this lane that he shouldn't. I'm making a video about just like this sort of topic right now, how to win 1v1s that you're not supposed to. And it's actually doing a lot of stuff that he's doing, like pushing the lane out and ganking, pushing the lane out and jungling, etc.
I mean, level 5 position 4 Clockwork who is in a tri-lane at 6 minutes is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a pretty big rip in pepperonis right there, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, sitting here and getting experience while nobody else is getting it is fine. This is the fine.
Yeah,
way.
that's good. That's good. It's just you're in a losing game now, so it's fine if he goes on you, even if he kills you. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever. You're a support. Who cares?
Yep. I do like that you're running to the lanes instead of TPing. That's a big deal.
Yep.
I think we went over that in a coaching session together, so I'm glad that it's sunk in.
Yeah, this is good. I was gonna say this is really good, actually. The funny thing is, it's hard to notice the good things because it just looks like good Dota and it's regular Dota.
Right.
But it's like if this was a replay and you were TPing, it's like that would be bad. Basically, if there's nothing happening on, there's no reason to TP. Like if a bounty was about to spawn.
Maybe that's why everybody's so toxic and only focuses on negative stuff in Dota, is because most people just expect normal things to happen, and so you can only really see the bad stuff, and that's like,
yeah,
you know, that's why everybody's so apt to point that stuff out.
That's exactly it. It's just the fact that you just for some reason don't notice the good stuff. It's not like, ooh, that was a nice not TP right there. That was such a good not TP. It's like, what the fuck? It's so weird to say that. Like, the not fucking something up is a good thing? No, it's just you're not doing a bad thing. It's the lack of doing a bad thing. It's like, actually, oh my god, Donnie, congratulations for not having murdered somebody today. You did such a good job at not being a murderer. It's like, nah, you go to murderers and you're like, you're a fucking murderer. That's not good, you know?
Yes, but at the same time, when Dota is a game of literally which team makes the least amount of mistakes, you know, it's okay to point out stuff that's like pretty mundane.
It makes sense,
you know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's boring, but like
even
it's
right
what
here,
the best players do, so it works.
I'll point this out. Okay, so I think a lot of supports would probably just run up here because they're like, oh, I still need to defend this tower, even though it's very clear that this tower is not going to be defendable because it's like pretty low. Glyph has already been used. Your team's definitely not going to come help you, and your troll is in no condition to fight. So I actually think that retreating here in this direction is the perfect play. So I'm going to point that out because it's a very mundane thing, but I think a lot of people.
Oh, you're saying it's a good play?
Yeah.
To retreat like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say it's a good play to go up, but I think the tower's already dead and you're not in a position to like use the vent being up there. So yeah, I agree.
Exactly. I think a lot of people would go up here and sit in this area, even though this tower cannot be defended.
Yes, I think retreating is a good play there. Like that call is good. If you can consistently make calls to not go in trees there, like you're gonna win a lot more than other people are because most people will fuck that up.
And hey, as a result, because you ran this way, they overextended and people were able to rotate in behind them and get a couple kills. So like something is
and you lose the tower, which you would have anyway.
Yep.
And you get kills.
Yep. So something as small as literally walking in the correct direction actually gets you guys 2 kills.
Maybe 3. You're alive for this chase. He juked the shit out of you.
Oh
my. Oh my god. You venge howl. Why would he ravage that?
Sorry, Odes, but you're being put on blast right now.
Oh my god. He's like totally regretting playing with RFX, man. We just saw his Whiffed Ravage. 100 people just saw his Whiffed Ravage. Maybe even more if we make a video. Poor guy. Just make a video out of just his Whiffed Ravage. 30 seconds clip. Alright.
Funny.
Poor guy.
Nice. I think
walk into the lane.
I think that position is good. I think
that's good.
Yeah, walking in here, like you're the least important hero, so you walking in here.
Not hitting tower, still giving your aura, and then you catch the Axe TPing, who is a very important initiator.
Yeah, I think that's a great play actually.
Huskar commits and no armlet, so unfortunate, but what can you do?
Yeah, right there, you could have toggled this tower. See where you are. You right-click this guy while you're within 500 units of the tower, so the tower switches aggro.
I think it's. Oh yeah, it is that. You're right.
And now, if you just right-click this creep, attack the creep, then the tower stops hitting you, and you potentially survive. So just a small thing.
Kunkka dies. I think with Kunkka dying, you guys are actually really strong.
Yeah.
Kunkka's like their strongest hero.
Yep, and Troll gets another kill. So I
This
think
is good because you 2 for 2, but you got the tower, so this is really good.
Oh, we're looking at
God.
bench.
Yeah.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's
So you walk, so you have TP available.
TP to the top lane for.
Although he's okay. Well, oh, you have 3 people there. Oh my god, that crit! Are you kidding me?
Is it a big crit?
Yeah, that was a pretty big crit. Look at that shit.
Okay, so let's see. Why is the TP happening? Okay, so TP's up here.
I think your team TPing is a mistake here. Oh, well, actually, never mind. He's surviving. He's surviving for a while. Yeah, this is not a mistake. This is good.
This is definitely good.
Oh my god, that crit! Jesus. The poor Lich.
Yeah, so actually, I like this TP. And this is something that I noticed that VP does a lot of the time is they will actually bring, like, this is one of the strengths in the video that I'm making about VP is that they're one of the few teams that will always bring 1 extra person to the fight. Like, they never seem to have a bad numbers in terms of fighting. It's always like, you'll see solo and no one run from like the bottom lane all the way to the top lane just to get to a fight over the course of like 15-20 seconds. And I think that that's actually a big deal because this other team is bringing more and more people to the fight. So if you don't come up here, then this troll potentially actually dies. And you do get caught out because your positioning was like
Who cares?
not ideal,
it's a
but
support.
saving
Whatever.
the troll is a big deal. And if you were not there, then you probably died.
Yeah, that's as a support, I don't give a fuck if you die. Like, it's perfectly fine. Especially because you're Venge, you just get your illusion, like, it
Yeah,
just stays
you're
alive.
still alive.
And then you TP bot because there's stuff happening, which is fine, because there's actually something that's, like, immediately happening.
Yep, placing this ward really good because you're getting vision of the Axe TPing in and their whole team wrapping around behind your team. I think your positioning here is pretty bad. Just because for holy shit,
Oh my
walking
God.
Venge, that's amazing.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, Jesus.
but yeah,
Ward.
okay. So I mean, your Lich is dead, so this is already not really a good fight because Troll's not here. He's TPing to the top lane. You guys have maximum 3 people for this fight. You're at their shrine.
Yeah. One thing I do want to mention is the fight starts, and I was going to mention this before I saw the ward that was actually in the fight. If a fight starts and I have a sentry, just immediately place it, because like you want to ensure that if you're taking this fight, they don't have vision. And if you place a sentry, you actually see that high ground ward that they have there and the sentry, so you can like deward all that shit. Like you just want to make sure they don't have good, like extremely good vision of you if you're fighting. I'd basically be dewarding the low ground, but you catch the high ground ward too if you use the sentry in the fight.
Yeah. Also, here's what I was trying to say is thinking about the zone control potential. So your team's over here and you're here. You have people in front of you that are not on your team. So this whole zone of you and your team is split in half. And so I think that actually the play, because they don't know you're here until you walk up this close because it's at nighttime, I think that you actually should just be sitting like in this camp or like over here in these trees, trying to like maybe run through these trees over here to get closer to your team without having to run through the other team, because now, I mean, you're just a free kill at this point. And that means that now it's a 2-on-5 fight potentially.
I would say that if I'm playing this game and I'm Venge, my entire focus is to swap out my Huskar if he gets X'd or Cogs'd or taunted by Axe. Like, you can completely fuck up the enemy team's initiation if you just sit in the trees and swap out whoever gets gone on. And if you can swap out whoever gets gone on and they use all their combo on that hero, then Huskar's just free to like kill everybody.
Yeah.
So I would say like swap is your big thing in this game. You'll get the stun off regardless and probably die, but who cares? You're a support, so you're gonna die anyway, right? Like, you're dying in this scenario, so who cares? But you could be using your life for more value if you're playing to utilize that swap a little bit better. Just because, like, you don't need to do damage, you don't need to do disable, you have the Tidehunter Ravage, you have Huskar. Like, all you need to do is make sure that somebody on your team doesn't get blown up by their burst, and you can very easily do that with the swap.
Yeah, an interesting way to think about it is like if you're just hiding right here in this camp and they don't see you, and Grimstroke uses everything on the Huskar and they cogs the Huskar in, and and then Like, you basically just wait for them to use all of their spells, and then you run in, because then they don't have any spells to stop you from doing what you want to do, right? But running in like this before anything's really happened to your team means that they can actually use their spells to stop you from doing what you want to do. And if you do get the swap off after they've used everything on Huskar, you basically have given him an Aegis, because they've used an entire round of spells and he's still at full HP because he didn't.
The bottom line is they need like all of their abilities to kill Huskar, and if you can stop like 1 or 2 of them from hitting him by swapping, then you're gonna win the fight. If you just stop that. So now it's like, yeah, you could swap here, for example. You could swap the Axe out. You could swap the Huskar out. But he ends up dying because like he's got too much stuff on him. That's what I was saying. Like, you see how he survived the Axe Call? He can survive some of their spells, but not all of them. It's when all of them are cast on him that it's an issue. That's why, like, I'm not saying that you swap out perfectly to dodge literally everything. I'm saying you should swap out to dodge a couple things, and then it's going to be value. And you do all the same stuff, except you've dodged spells. And, like, if they have 10 spells, you have 10 spells, and they fuck up 5 of them or 3 of them because you caused them to do that, that's 10 spells versus 7. And that's an advantage. Like, you'll probably win that fight unless somebody tremendously messes up, which will happen sometimes, but at least you're giving yourself a better chance.
Yep. So you end up swapping yourself up, and then you run out this way, which is, I mean, this is fine. You're distracting a couple of their heroes. But now that they are going back on your heroes, there's really no reason to get this close. Like, your swap,
I think it's more like
your swap works from out here.
Yeah, they're kind of like distracting you though because of the positioning. Like, your swap is really important. If you swap the Huskar out and he doesn't get stunned by the Grimstroke stuff, he's in like a much better position. If you swap the Axe out, maybe Tide Ravages earlier, or he has more, Huskar has more HP or whatever.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, like, I would say, look at the game and just be like, what is my job in this game? Okay, Huskar does all the damage we ever need. Tide does enough disable. Lich does disable. Like, I don't need to initiate. I don't really need to worry about stunning a lot. And even if you do need to worry about stunning a lot, if you're swapping out, you'll still get stuns because when you swap out, you're swapping yourself in. So you'll still get your stuns off. So basically, it's like you can do this exact same thing, except also swap out people who are dying. And that's really good against Cogs. That's really good against Kunkka X. That's really good against Axe Call. That's really good against Grimstroke Inkswall, because all of them, if like the positioning is fucked up, they fail. They don't do anything.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes back to that point that we were talking about earlier, which is that sometimes you just want to do nothing. Like, I think that a lot of people just really think that Dota is this massively complex puzzle that's like an enigma for even a genius to solve, but ultimately you just go into this game thinking, okay, I just need to literally press R on Huskar occasionally at the right time and we win the game. Like, that's a pretty simple solution to a big problem, which is the game of Dota.
It actually is true, though. Like, if you have that strat, you'll probably win. And if it turns out to be wrong, you just change it as the game progresses. And then if you get it right one of the times that you fight, you'll win a fight and win the game. It's really that simple.
Yeah, I think that you're probably trying to do, like, 7D chess in your head right now every time that you go into a fight. You're like, oh, man, I gotta get stuns and press all these buttons and all this stuff. But ultimately, all you have to do is, even this TP in, you need to just, like, literally stand over here and wait for somebody to press R on.
I actually want to talk about that. One of the biggest reasons I failed at becoming like a tier 1 player is because I massively overthink things, and whenever I talk with a lot of other players, it always boils down to me realizing that they don't really even know what they're saying when they're lecturing me on what to do, because it just happens that they have better impulses. They are just playing the game, and they do it better for whatever reason, because of the things they believe, because of the things they've learned, but it's all instinctual. So if I'm sitting here trying to understand it and like mathematically articulate everything during the actual game, it's going to serve to just confuse you more than anything, and a confused person doesn't act very logically. So it's just it's just not good. So basically, I've been approaching the game from a more like, I'm just going to do what feels good point of view, because I know that's what every other player is doing, and I'll practice one thing at a time, so that way I will have a better feeling for what to do. But if I don't feel a certain way in a game, I won't do something, even if I'm like, oh, mathematically I need to think about this and what's viable. I don't fucking think of any of that shit. I build my feelings, and then I play the game off of the feelings when I'm actually in the game. But I change those instincts like outside of the game through practice. Basically, like, people would lecture me on these teams, and they'd be like, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that. Then I realized, like, they're just listing all the things I did wrong. These aren't like core philosophies that they follow. They're just listing things that I did wrong, and they're basically just saying I played bad. but like there's no rhyme or reason to the list of things that I did wrong, because I'm just a bad instinctual player and I'm doing a lot of things wrong, and there's just a lot of shit that I need to personally work on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very legitimate point, is that, and there's actually like science to back that up. Basically, you have two different parts of your brain. There's the part of your brain that works on like instinct, and there's this part of your brain that analyzes the analysis part that has allowed us to become like thinking conscious human beings and like interact socially. But it's also the part that really fucks you over during performance and intense performance, because it's like if you're trying to play some like really complex thing on piano and you're thinking about, oh, now my left hand needs to go hit the like 30-second note, you're gonna never play it correctly. Whereas if you just like practice that, you know, that note over and over and over, you're gonna do it consistently well because you're not thinking about it anymore. Same kind of thing in Dota, where there's too much going on to be like intellectually involved at a very high level in most of the decisions that are made.
Yeah, when I was casting Katowice with Kipsel, I was talking to her, just like having a conversation, and she was basically just telling me that every team that she's ever coached and been on, essentially she would train people to have like their practice, like when they're playing scrims and when they're playing pubs, that would be their like ideal performance for in competitive, instead of having people where like they go into competitive, something clicks and they play fucking amazing like OG, because that is not consistent. If your instincts and your default is good, then the lowest that you will fall to, this is what she told me, the lowest that you will fall to in terms of skill level is your default. It's and it'll still be good. So you want to train for that default to be good and just not think about anything, basically. That's why competitive players, she always tries to teach them to take pubs very seriously, because it's about building that default, so you're not relying on just like having that moment of courage in the competitive game, because that is not reliable at all. The moment you hit any pressure, you start analyzing things, you're gonna fucking feed. You're gonna play like shit.
Yeah, I mean that's literally why, like, being in the military, they do all this like psychological abuse to you and stuff like that. It's to train you to be at like a neutral state when you're under stressful situations, because if you are like in a war and somebody's shooting at you, you can't like lose your mind and be scared and be nervous and be crazy stuff.
You'll get yourself killed. You'll
dead.
Get your team killed.
Yeah, you're literally dead. So it really is all about just kind of like trying to just raise your baseline of default to a point where you can just instinctually make good decisions.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's a
why
good point to end on.
Yeah, and that's why if you watch the Q&A with OG and you looked at the they asked the question is how many hours each person had, and it was like between 18 and 20,000 hours for every single player that won TI. So
no surprise there.
Look at your hours played, and you know, keep that in mind if you're feeling like, man, why am I not a TI winner? I play Dota at a pretty high level. Like, have you played 10,000 hours?
That's not even
probably not.
That's not even including their like Dota 1, other competitive experience is more value than like pubs and bot lobbies and stuff like that. You know, like that is a lot of practice at a high level.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the replay review stream. We'll be doing this in a couple of weeks, probably. I might be out of town for the next one. I'm not totally sure.
Are we? Is this something you want to start doing every Thursday? Because we did the dual queue stuff, but if we're doing this to the whole audience anyway.
Yeah, we can probably do this every Thursday.
Because this is better for me than the dual queue stuff right now, because my internet really sucks at my mother-in-law's. So yeah. I want to play as little as possible until I can get home in like a month or so.
Yeah, that's fine.
Then I'm gonna go fucking ham.
We can do this every Thursday if you want, at least for now.
Sounds good.
All right. If you want to be one of the people that we review replays of, check out our Patreon. And regardless,
we also do Alchemy Answers live. By the way, if you wanna be part of that live Q&A, that's also Patreon.
Yep.
Just mindless shilling.
And regardless, thank you for watching our content and supporting us and being part of the Dota Alchemy community, because Every time I get a comment on a YouTube channel that's like, hey, I went from 1.7K to 3K in a month from watching your videos, I'm just like, you know what? I think I could make another video today. Why not?
Yeah. It's pretty nice. It's pretty great to be like super fucking depressed and anxious and like mentally ill and then read nice comments and stuff. It's pretty legit. Keeps me from going over the fucking edge. I don't know about you. It sounds so dark.
We'll see you guys later.